Our main is a super VIP chef who spends 25 hours cooking every day. But because he's the main character, the author gave him a championship trophy. As long as you have something shorter than 30 centimeters in your hand. Then he immediately turned into a sword god. Once he makes a move, no one can stand against him. No opponent survives when he activates his sword god mode. With a single swing of his sword. The strongest swordsman right now. I held my breath when I saw that sword. Even a 70-year-old young girl is devastated. In front of his 30-centimeter sword. And without further ado, let's begin. He has special abilities with swordsmanship. Nothing can make it difficult for him. And nothing can escape his blade. He trained so hard that his palms were covered in blood. After dropping out of high school, I spent 20 years honing knife techniques. To the point of becoming the world's #1 swordsman. Table 3, OA Car, Type A. Welcome to Tables 5 and B. Each table gets a special serving of squid. It looks delicious. The chef here is incredibly skilled with a knife. Table 4, VIP serving. Goodbye, guests. Inside a Japanese restaurant, countless diners are enjoying their meals. Someone is entering from outside. Everyone in the kitchen turns to look. It's our protagonist, slicing fish into sashimi. Chef, that's your phone ringing. Someone whispers his name. He presses a button on his earpiece, probably switched to vibrate mode, and answers. This isn't a game, I deleted it. Why am I still getting notifications? He's surprised. Is my phone broken? The chef is about to slice the fish when a waiter approaches. Guests have arrived. The waiter informs him. Tell them I'm not here, he replies hastily, putting his phone in his pocket. The phone keeps ringing. What? No one this time. That's a blatant lie. Someone approaches. He recognizes him and gives him a displeased look. Hey, Kim, the man says, looking like a powerful Yakuza boss, smiling affably. I guess it's time to answer. I'm here to listen. I bet I've given you enough time to think. He remains silent, listening to the man's request. This shouldn't be hard for a lifelong knife wielder, huh? I understand. I'm not very perceptive. The man suddenly gets an idea and tells his men, show him the suitcase. You should show your sincerity first, shouldn't you? His men produce a suitcase full of money. This will certainly not disappoint you. 300 million up front, he grins, showing all his teeth. It's a steal of a deal. You should accept, if you complete the task to my satisfaction. He threw the fish up and slashed it several times. Full of discomfort. As if to scare the others, the boss had his entire face cut off and he growled loudly, this is a clean kitchen. First of all, this is not a place for dirty people like you. Get out. The fish falls to the floor. He refuses the offer. The imposing Yakuza boss trembles before him. A real sword saint, as I thought. You're impossible. The man persists. You can't cut fish, so let's just call it a day. He picks up a gleaming knife, a flash of light reflecting off its blade. Seeing this, the men recoil in fear, even the previously stubborn boss. He chuckles twice, finally giving up for the day. Don't think this is over, I'll be back. Let's go, he orders his men, and they leave. The sous chef, seemingly used to this, still shows a hint of surprise. Outside, the night sky is full of stars. The sous chef talks to Kim. He smiles, a hint of envy in his voice. 300 million won. If I were you, I'd accept immediately. Why did you refuse? Kim takes a deep drag from his cigarette, releasing the stress of the day. My whole life, I've only used a knife to cut fish. I know nothing about being a gangster. So, you're just using your reputation as a swordsman. You're just going to scare them and take their money, buy a house, open a shop. The sous chef seems to be trying to persuade him. Maybe you just want to help you live a better life. You have to live like a human being too, Kim replies. Even if you gave me $1 billion, I wouldn't. Hey, what are all those notifications? The sous chef points at Kim's constantly buzzing phone. Dating someone, dating, it's a game, he says, chuckling. You're still playing, some guardian angel game. Damn it, I deleted it, but... Someone from the kitchen calls out, sous chef, where are you going? Why aren't you cleaning? The sous chef turns and walks back inside, a little annoyed, muttering something to Kim before leaving him alone. The boss is gone. Huh, I'll be going then. Surely the bright moonlight above the clear sky, even after a tiring day. Something like that happened made him think about the past. When I was young, my family went bankrupt, I started working and living like a child. I guess I'm too focused on making money. Then he let out a breath, his heart a bit chaotic. What is this? I keep using it in my pants pocket. Why do I keep using it? I'm so annoyed that I pull out my phone and keep using it. I reinstalled it when I was drunk, so why did I have to delete it again? Holding up his phone, he mumbled to himself, it's that game again. There's a notification. These guys have been invading the academy every year. The Divine Guardian is obscuring the Demon Lord's invasion of the academy, but it's not over yet. He accidentally tapped the notification. Pressed it and the needle felt a little excited. His phone kept ringing. What happened? Touching the screen, he tapped it. The ringtone rang out, evoking distant memories. Even after playing for a long time, the nostalgic sound was the same. The female character was still as beautiful as ever. He sighed with emotion. Suddenly, the screen went blank. His heart really ached. Suddenly, the screen turned completely white. He was startled. What the hell is going on? The sous chef went out to call him. Chef, the boss is calling for you. But he wasn't there, only his phone was glowing nearby. Where is he? The sous chef was puzzled. Why did he leave his phone behind? The sous chef looked around but couldn't find him anywhere. Hey, the boss is calling, someone yelled from inside, scolding the sous chef. Sous chef, where's the chef? He must have gone to the toilet, the boss yelled, telling him to hurry up. The sous chef turned and left, leaving the phone on the ground. The phone kept ringing. The screen displayed 100% complete. Everything vibrated and flickered on the phone he left on the rooftop. There's nothing special to say. He looked at the video on his phone and sighed. It's just a typical pay-to-win game with a standard auto-farming system. It's just another mass-produced mobile game. The game screen appeared. Tap the screen, just one click to start. He wondered, why am I playing this? The character designs are so attractive. The female character is super pretty. I got hooked on that game. It's ridiculous. I burned through my whole fortune, and it's frustrating, even after many rounds. Now, I'm not even a playable character. I'm not even a machine. Maybe it's a failure, isn't it? Click. He clicked on the character. A character with complete information. The character in the game is biting the cursor. I own this character. Here. My name is. He remained silent in front of the drink stall. That's his character, Kang Yoma. Suddenly, someone passing by accidentally touched his shoulder. It was a female character with striking blue hair. Kang Yoma immediately looked over. A girl. His eyes widened. I know what you're thinking, but it's not like that. Anyway, he turned to ask the girl, are you alright? The green-haired girl softly replied, yes, I'm sorry. It's fortunate that the Divine Guardian setting is in South Korea. The place name and geography on the station's public address system. The next announcement was Fatso Station. Only a few characters were different, the rest were quite similar. Thanks to that, I can easily adapt. He went through the code scanning gate. The system beeped, I am a teenager. And then, within a year, Kang Yoma stood in front of the elevator. I live here. I forget if this is reality or a game. A life I never experienced in my past life. He punched in the passcode to enter the house. Until that day, Kang Yoma's peaceful life was shattered. Entering the house, he greeted his parents. I'm home. Oh, you're home. His mother welcomed him joyfully, the pride of his mother, the great swordsman Kang Yoma. Son, look at this. His mother produced a piece of paper. It was an acceptance letter, registration number 4982, Kang Yoma. The acceptance notice for students who passed the Academy entrance exam in 2034, enrollment date, April 17, 2034, location, Joaquin Academy, required, personal weapons and luggage. Looking at the paper, he could only remain silent. Finally, everything would unfold just like in the game. He nodded. His parents happily discussed how their son would study. Kang Yoma remained silent. After a while, his parents seemed to notice their son. Of course, Yoma, tomorrow is the enrollment ceremony. He sighed and forced a smile, not knowing what to say to their concern. Oh, my son, have you prepared anything? He replied, I'll go prepare now. Go, son. It seemed that his acceptance into Joaquin Academy was a source of immense pride for them. They couldn't stop their happiness. Just with an acceptance letter, yes, The small dream of living in a normal family had shattered. The next day, he looked at the acceptance letter on the table in front of him and sighed. Actually, he didn't want to go to that academy, but his parents were so happy, he couldn't refuse. Yoma looked at the screen in front of him, frowning unhappily. I've asked many times if I can drop out, but the answer is always the same. So tired, he sighed. He looked at the family photo on the table. Yoma was silent, as if calculating something. Damn it, how did you get accepted into such a prestigious school? He cursed at his game character. This is how it is. Thinking about Ma's past, he felt a little sad. Son, your powers awakened last year, so you took the entrance exam. Don't you remember? He, now inhabiting Ma's body, could only gape in shock. Before he possessed him, his powers had already appeared, and he immediately passed Joaquin Academy's exam. He's a genius. Why does this bastard still feel angry when he reads the admission notice over and over again? Explanation: divine power is a special ability that humans can use. It's like the special moves in the game, but not everyone possesses divine power. Divine power is often passed down through genes based on the presence or absence of divine power. Society is divided into three classes: the upper class, commoners, and the poor. The organization created to maintain the power of the elite is Joaquin Academy, although it was founded to train heroes. For a long time, it has been the exclusive cradle for upper-class families. Recently, special admission announcements for non-hero families, also known as special admission, were put forward, and Icon Yoma was admitted as one of those special students. But why is the hero so praised? The reason is obvious. Because of the rise of the Demon King. Oh, once again, this isn't reality, it's just a game. I've been transported to a hero training school to prepare for war. It'll be different, but maybe it'll feel like re-enlisting. Oh man, this divine power. He leaned back in his chair, muttering to himself, for someone who wants a normal life like me, being reborn into a game character with divine power is definitely not desirable. Suddenly a menu appeared: Martial System Divine Force, Martial System Divine Force, Pain Relief, Activation Time 30 seconds, Cooldown Time 12. English. Surprise, but still criticized. The status window looks strange. Let's see. He carefully examined the status window that opened. The divine power Yoma had unlocked, Pain Reduction, Martial Prowess. As far as he knew, it was the worst kind of divine power. Why am I involved in this? Every time I see it, I feel miserable. 30 seconds of pain relief with a 12-hour cooldown. It's ridiculous. Not even enough time to scratch my butt. Alright. Looking at it realistically, he realized this was the divine power granted to him upon possessing this body. Blessing of the Sword God. A new selection box appeared. The blessing of the Sword God will end if you are injured. Activation time, none. Cooldown, none. Can only be activated with a sword shorter than 30 centimeters in length and narrower than 5 centimeters in width. He looked at it and fell silent. What the? Blessing of the Sword God? With this name, no one will dare to mess with me, right? This is a divine power I've never seen in the game. Thinking back to my past life, it's really like that. The name is completely opposite to its simple power. Getting injured means death. Why call this divine power? It's ridiculous, it's beyond imagination. But even more annoying is the activation condition, with a sword the size of a fruit knife. Reading the activation condition again and again, he still found it incredibly frustrating. A sword length shorter than 30 centimeters, is that even a sword? A width smaller than 5 centimeters, this. It's clearly the size of the sashimi knife, but I mean I should cut sashimi here. Is there any mistake? I don't know anymore. Yoma gave up. He lay back in his chair again. In the end, life is never as expected. Come to think of it, did I pack all my stuff? Right. Yoma suddenly remembered something. I forgot about my equipment. Now I remember, when I played this game, the weapons for this character were. The lowest, E grade, was worth millions of won, C grade was worth hundreds of millions, A and S grade items were treasures. He was in a dilemma. The tuition fees were already exorbitant. He didn't want to spend money on things he was forced to have. It says equipment is required, so if I don't bring anything, I'll definitely make a bad first impression. After much deliberation, Yoma sighed, 2 to 3 Siegfrieds, then, a shopping address I often used in the game. From inside that room, another door opened. Strange, glittering blue light emanated from it. My first teacher I remember insisted I choose 100,000,001 Japanese sashimi knife. He automatically broke out in a cold sweat. He suddenly remembered that old man, a master who never blamed equipment. New student, today's the enrollment day. He put on the school uniform and a standard student backpack, arriving at Joaquin Academy for enrollment. The instructor had to ask him again when checking his weapons. His face frowned. Is this really your weapon? Yes, it's a pile of sashimi knives, and they're on sale. It was unbelievable. A school that trains heroes to fight monsters, and a student uses sashimi knives as weapons. Will they even be strong enough? Not to mention, he might get skewered to death before he even touches a monster. On enrollment day, during the equipment check, when they saw his pile of sashimi knives, a silence fell. He didn't know what to say. Every year, the upper-class students played pranks. He had to establish discipline from the start. He thought Yoma's sashimi knives were a prank. He shouted, "Do you think this is a joke?" He slammed his hand on the table. "Do you think it's acceptable to use kitchen knives in the class placement test?" "This is my weapon," Yoma replied to the instructor in the most serious tone. He fell silent. "What, serious? You're not joking, are you?" Immediately, he shouted again, "This kid." The instructor still thought it was a joke. He spoke again to the instructor. Cutting him off before he could continue his rant, he replied, "I'm a special student from an ordinary family. Tuition fees alone are a huge burden on my parents, so how can I add the burden of expensive weapons to them?" The instructor now noticed the special student label on his nameplate. It's true that for students not from the upper class, tuition fees are a heavy burden. The instructor gritted his teeth. Someone affiliated with the academy promoting educational equality. This is shocking. Will the prejudices and pressures cause this student to give up? So, a 30% discount means, he continued. Only amateurs blame equipment. A new student using this phrase was truly shocking. A light emanated from his hand, causing the instructor to feel uneasy. He frowned at the student's words. A master doesn't blame equipment. This wasn't something a teenager could say. It was as if this kid had reached some kind of peak. The weight of these powerful words was like a peak Yoma couldn't conquer, an unyielding spirit. It felt unreal. The instructor was finally moved by Yoma's words. He started to cry. "What is this? At my age, I'm being lectured by a new student." The instructor's thoughts were interrupted by Yoma. As if asking for confirmation, the instructor announced, "Student Yoma's weapon is approved." "Thank you, instructor," Yoma said, then put his sashimi knives back into his bag. The special student, below, some upper-class students began to look down on him. How can someone like that be here? The smell of special students, their voices are full of disdain. The new student remained silent. When the inspection ended, he quickly moved away. The instructor, hearing the disdainful words, shouted loudly. He raised his fist. "Anyone who dares to whisper, whether noble or not, will get punched immediately. Depending on your actions, I can be an angel or a devil." Clear. The noble students were startled and stood straight. Yoma took the opportunity to leave, his heart slightly trembling. He felt the need to calm himself. Time to rest. After completing the enrollment procedures, he returned to the dormitory. Sitting on a bench in the school, Yoma looked up at the sky listlessly. "I expected this, but actually going through it is still unsettling. Anyway, I passed the equipment check and the admission ceremony, and then only the placement test is left. Oh, I'm so tired of going to school and doing all that stuff. Can't I just test once and then be done with it?" Yoma's mind wandered, "But I did it. This is the school where I'll study for the next 3 years. Joaquin Academy, the hero training school." Looking at the extravagant school in front of him, it truly seemed like it was only for the nobles. It's completely different from the pictures. To say it differently, it's like a miniature town. There's a fountain, a spacious campus, and castle-like architecture. Really impressive. Yoma couldn't help but praise it. This school is only for the upper class. Thinking about the past of having to drop out of school because of family circumstances, it feels like a dream. I actually got to go to school. I was really surprised. The time came. The loudspeaker announced the upcoming class placement test, requiring all students to be present in the training hall at 1 p.m. He was startled. Yoma opened his bag. He mumbled, "It's already started. The entrance ceremony is over, but the class placement test is more important. Let's just take the test, Get used to it. Kang Yoma took his sashimi knife with a determined look in his eyes. Let's do it. Looking back, I haven't used the knife since I arrived here, there's no need. Thinking back to the past, my master's words were the same every day. Don't put down the knife, always hold it, even when sleeping. Remember, it seems I've learned a habit from the old man. After 20 years living by the knife, will taking a year off dull my skills? He held the knife and checked its quality. Yoma tapped it, then held it up to the sun to check its sharpness. Yoma smiled happily, better than I expected. After checking the sashimi knife, let's see, maybe I'll cut a leaf in half. He opened the knife sheath, finding a training target immediately. As soon as the knife is removed from the sheath, the weapon notification system is activated, activating the blessing of the magic sword. The system issued another announcement, this time a warning: your physical condition is too weak, equipment level is too low. Yoma was startled, using inhibition to initiate user synchronization. Yoma's eyes widened. What is this? I just drew the knife and it activated some kind of blessing. May the Lord's blessing be with you. Before his eyes, a dark void filled his mind, only the system's announcements remained. He suddenly woke up, his eyes wide with fear. It seems the sword god's blessing was too much for Yoma, he screamed, a cry of pain. If this continues, I will die. 30 seconds anti-pain blessing was lost. Kang Yoma tried not to faint at the change in his body before the blessing. It was as if something shattered in Kang Yoma's brain. Everything before his eyes faded. Before Kang Yoma's eyes was only a deep crimson line, without beginning or end. What just happened? I wonder what the hell. Kang Yoma doesn't remember that this happened in the game I played in my previous life. What the heck is the sashimi knife showing? Kang Yoma mumbled. He unconsciously dropped his knife on the floor. This thing was like a three-dimensional shape. The moment he dropped the knife, it seemed like it wanted to shatter. Yoma suddenly saw what happened before his eyes. Go back in the moment you put the knife away, it's back to normal. What a strange thing that just happened. He felt his whole body aching, as if 50 people had punched him. I understand the divine power activated, but what does the Lord's blessing have to do with the pain? His face was pale. The backlash hurts too much. The divine power only has a slight pain-relieving effect on muscles after use. If every time I activate it, my hands will tremble like this, how can I use Yoma? Looking at the knife in front of me and the entrance test is coming up, what should I do? Continued to announce that all the students immediately gathered at the training building. Kang Yoma felt like he had to make a choice, but I guess I should pick it up. Looking at the knife in front of his eyes, he was a bit hesitant and couldn't let me go. Dao Sasi me can be on the ground. Maybe it only hurts the first time it's activated. It will be okay, right? He trembled, not daring to touch the knife. Taking a deep breath, clink, Kang Yoma touched the knife. An unknown electric current jolted Kang Yoma, throwing him back. He yelled, what the heck? Another backlash, damn it. The students preparing to move all looked back at Kang Yoma. Meanwhile, at the training hall, everyone had gradually gathered. Countless students, both special students and those from the nobility, had arrived. Some were confident, others extremely anxious. Yes, 3 people were talking. They seemed to be teachers. The one with bright green hair, looking like Doraemon, smiled brightly. I don't even know how much the enrollment fee is. He looked around, noticing something approaching. He said, oh my, the journey here must have been arduous. Lord of the Winds is one of the 7-star heroes of the Lord of the Winds. Lord of the Winds, Siegfried von Nibelung. Although he looks fake, he still has his majesty. The descendant of Aaron Nibelung, disciple of the hero who founded valor, Joaquin. He remained silent, saying nothing. His hawk-like gaze was fixed on this year's incoming students. The strongest man spoke for a while. The teacher with green hair remained silent, not knowing what else to say. The bald man with a single tuft of hair said, let's leave the green-haired one alone. Shall we go back? Yes, yes. Mr. Siegfried sighed, then suddenly his face turned back and a bit of murderous intent emerged when he sensed someone. Sage has been around for a long time, isn't it? That's a 7-star hero, a saint. Media poison has been around for half a century, isn't it? That's a woman. Media, Mr. Siegfried frowned at him. I told the media that I still don't want to dress like an academy director. I'm 70 years old and still refuse to change anything. That person laughed. Don't all women want to be beautiful until they die? Then sit down, next to Siegfried. She makes an invitation with just one sentence, and I can make you look 10 years younger. Siegfried refuses. Even if he turns 70 tomorrow, he still won't grow up. People must respect their inner nature, right? Media laughed loudly at Siegfried's argument. Oh, this rotten old man, why are you still the same as 50 years ago? So Siegfried was a bit angry with the other person. He muttered, this woman really likes to be beaten. But media's voice was a bit relaxed. The conservative old man also changed a lot and brought me to this place. I also used to hate having to share the same atmosphere with these arrogant people. Siegfried sighed. I guess the media teases you that your niece isn't quite pretty. Silent, not responding to the media's words, just staring down below as it seemed like it was about to start. Over there, the students were still busy chatting with each other, seemingly unaware of the horrors of the entrance test. Everyone here is paired up, except for Kan Yoma, who stands alone in the vast courtyard. Am I the only one with black hair? It's annoying. Are they uncomfortable because I'm a foreigner with black hair? I'm not sure, and on top of that, I'm a special student among the nobles. Special student? I remember their hateful voices during the weapons check. How can people like that be here? That stench of special students. Thinking about it again makes me feel angry and inferior. From over there, someone walked out. That person caused everyone to look over, Kan Yoma being no exception. All the other students flocked to look, regarding her like an alien object. In front of that person, perhaps everyone is nothing. Kan Yoma wasn't attracted to the girl, but every male student, without exception, blushed at the sight of her. A girl with strikingly bright blue hair, the granddaughter of the Sword Emperor, Abel von Nibelung. She's incredibly beautiful, dazzlingly so. She's the true heroine of the game, and the only reason I poured all my savings into this, despite gaining nothing, is because she's overwhelmingly beautiful and powerful. The subspace, created by the heroic predecessor Valor Joaquin, parallel to the Academy's founding, it's a completely separate reality. Damage is real here, but not in the subspace. Because there's no interference from the real world here, even murderers are looked down upon. Siegfried asked media about the royal war in the subspace. Media nodded. Fighting in the subspace is a tradition of our academy, but this year there's a slight change in the form of the royal war. Students will be divided into groups of 10, so it's a survival game. Siegfried immediately recognized this. Media continued, looking excited. Unlimited equipment. Siegfried frowned. If there's no equipment limit, won't the upper class have a huge advantage? Media replied, don't mention it. I had to negotiate endlessly to get this. Like it or not, this school is funded by the nobles. I went through a lot of trouble to come up with this system. Siegfried sighed. So that's how it is. He's a special student. Yoma blushed. He didn't say anything. He just stood rooted to the spot when he saw Abel. She's terrifyingly beautiful. Honestly, I thought she was just a 2D character, but those idiots are trying to approach her, or maybe if I didn't know any better, I'd do the same. He mocked himself. I've played this game, so I know. His thoughts. Abel von Nibelung is a player with a miraculous blessing. In other words, she's the main character of the game. Eventually, someone beautiful like that will find someone. As for me, I'm just a supporting character witnessing Abel's life. Besides, someone like me, a special student, isn't on the same level as them. He turned and left. It's better not to get involved and invite trouble. He took out his notebook, recalling the 3 principles he set for his future. Safety, completing his studies, getting a traditional job, and living a peaceful life. Hero, he scoffed at it in his head. What kind of slow death is this? Just pulling out a knife makes my body tremble. I'm still spinning here. He swallowed, remembering the terrifying experience. He definitely didn't want to go through that again. World-saving hero. He closed his notebook. My goal in life is to find a relaxing job. The announcement blared. The 783rd year class placement exam of Joaquin Academy will now officially begin. I will explain the rules. He looked up, dejected. The loudspeaker repeated. As announced, this year will be a royal war. Out of 10 randomly selected students, the top 1 will enter the Star class, ranks 2 and 3 the Dragon class. Ranks 4 to 10 will be placed in the common class. Classes will be assigned based on these results. Scores will be automatically recorded, and there's no time limit. He listened, recognizing the similarity to the game. The goal, common class, finish quickly and don't waste time. Subspace generation device activated, the exam begins. Something was emitted, and all the students felt themselves floating in the air. May the hero's blessing be with you. That was the last thing everyone heard before being transported to the subspace. He muttered to himself, I have to try, I can't give up. As everyone was transported to the subspace, some couldn't handle the shock and collapsed immediately. The transition made everyone tired. Group 24 completed, first place, Saki Ryojo, second place. The system continuously announced, Group 47 completed, first place, Saki Ryojo, second place, sad era. Media chatted with Sei considering the circumstances. You have your granddaughter and relatives Chang Song and Geogung, the results will change significantly, Siegfried replied. Now look at this. Media, through the selection board, saw the result, 7 minutes, 14 seconds, so fast. C-rank weapons achieved this record. Abel wants a fair evaluation. That young boy seems mischievous, Siegfried said. Even though my record hasn't been broken, she's still in the top 10 in academy history. A Nibelung descendant, he laughed. If she doesn't achieve a high result, don't call yourself my granddaughter. It seems like it's almost over. I'm going. Siegfried stood up, intending to leave. Media said, there's still one group left. Oh, to the shop. He chuckled lightly. Probably only the stragglers left. Knowing my granddaughter is VIP is enough. See you again. Siegfried stood up and left. Media teased him. See you in the next life, old man. Suddenly, something made the two stop. What is this? What kind of danger is this? Even the students felt it, and they all looked up. You felt it too? Media immediately asked Siegfried. He was also surprised and couldn't believe it. There were still a few scattered students in the courtyard. Siegfried is annoyed. This aura has never appeared in this building before. This is. There was a cry. Both Siegfried and Media cheered at the same time even though the two of them were in the 7 heroic stars. This strange thing seemed like they had never seen before. A virtual space opened. Media and Siegfried both looked to the sky with utmost vigilance. It was, suddenly, the floor crumbled. A second space shattered, and something fell to the ground. The students all watched. It was. Two things crashed to the earth, followed by an explosion. Dust and smoke filled the air. Someone fell out of the smaller space. Someone whispered, disbelievingly, another nodded. The smaller space seemed to be changing. Siegfried grew increasingly wary. He frowned, irritated. What in the world? Something else fell from the smaller space, landing beside the person who had just fallen. Media's medical staff immediately rushed to check on the student. Hurry, it's Yoma, along with his sashimi knife. No one knew what happened inside, but Yoma had fainted. It was inevitable, his fate was sealed. That damn guy, inside the smaller space, his teammates were arguing. Then, the blonde-haired one screamed, being choked by someone. Then hit forward a wall in the subspace that cracked. Unluckily, Yoma seemed to have fallen into a deadly battle. A group of large, noble students were bullying weaker ones, and Yoma, unfortunately, landed right in the middle of it. The vicious twins from the Iron King's family, Mao Jun and Mao Shun, were cruelly stepping on other students, weak as snails, mocking them even after they were unable to fight back. Despite their natural talent, their cruelty and duplicity were unparalleled. Damn bastards, Yoma gritted his teeth, his sense of justice ignited. They had been toying with them for 30 minutes. Do I look that weak? They hadn't even noticed him, but that was all the better. Mao Jun looked at the student before him and sighed. Dead. He tossed the student to the ground and added. So boring, Mao Shun mumbled. Brother, how many? He asked his brother, who was busy torturing another student at his feet, ignoring the student's pleas for mercy. Mao Shun noticed something. Mao Jun turned to his brother, fast or slow. He threw the student to the ground. Mao Shun sneered, troublesome, catch 4 more. Mao Jun gave instructions to Mao Shun. I'm sorry for letting you be like that. Those 2 people are the rulers here, so they don't take other people into their own eyes. Good, the twins said, targeting a frail girl in the distance. The unfortunate girl hugged herself, trembling, but showing no signs of surrender. Yoma felt intense anger seeing them target the girl. These beasts. A girl in a corner seemed terrified. She didn't look ready to fight at all. Damn it, Yoma cursed, do I really have to fight? Mao Shan approached the girl. The battle was now like a rabbit fighting a bear. He hit her hard. Ooh, look at that, Mao Shan mocked, she's right up my alley. I wonder what kind of scream will come from those little lips, he said, activating his equipment. Want to know? Die. He was a completely depraved pervert. The girl was too terrified to move. Mao Jun cheered him on. Even for you, that's too much, little brother. Where should I tear you apart first? He laughed, sticking his tongue out and licking his lips like a bloodthirsty predator. Hey, you bastard, Yoma decided to intervene, he shouted, and the three, including the girl, were all incredibly surprised. Someone dared to challenge the brothers. Even in this smaller space, you've gone too far, are you insane? He cursed inwardly, damn it, I just jumped in without thinking. What, another one? Shun, look at his nameplate, Mao Jun warned his brother. A special student, a lowlife, they immediately dismissed him. Then, they looked at him with cold eyes, another pervert for us to torment. Brother, you go first, I'll handle this quickly, Shun suggested. Fine, Shun agreed, after I'm done with this little brat, I'll take care of that girl. Because that brat insulted us, we'll cut out his tongue, Mao Shun nodded after receiving instructions from his brother, we'll make that special student regret what he said. Damn it, Yoma struggled, unsure what to do. Should I use my psychic powers? No, they've been running rampant for 30 minutes already, avoiding pain for 30 seconds won't help much. Yoma seemed to realize something, he flinched. Sashimi, he remembered the knife in his pocket. But if he held the knife, the blessing would activate automatically, and Yoma didn't like that one bit. Recalling the previous experience of feeling pain as if his whole body was being torn apart, the blessing of the divine sword was normal, no storms, and safe. He judged that it had not been half a day since he made his decision, but thinking back, it was true. Avoid him, damn swearing. What is this? Mao Jun and Mao Shun were extremely surprised when they saw him holding the sashimi knife. Yoma decided to pick up the sashimi knife to fight those two brats. The two of them froze. A joke, damn it, is this a joke, you bastard? Both immediately mocked him. Only she, I don't know what to say. Her eyes were full of surprise. How can you fight with that knife? You're interesting, Mao Shun raged. He bent down, his voice low and menacing. I'll make it as painless as possible for you. He leaped with incredible force. Just so you know, I'm going to smash your head in first. Mao Shun charged towards him with terrifying force. This time, it's death. This isn't a situation where I can be picky, only 30 seconds, stepping back might work. Painless blessing, he decided to use it for 30 seconds, the system announced, all pain will be nullified thanks to the blessing, activation time, 30 seconds, cooldown time, 12 hours. He gripped the knife, slowly drawing it from its sheath, the sword God's blessing activated, it would counteract the pain. Mao Shun mocked him. How can you use such a pathetic weapon, you bastard? His eyes were full of anger. Perhaps, to him, he was an insult. If I get hit, I'll die. With that sashimi knife, Yoma frowned. This weight. Facing Mao Shun, who was flying towards him, it's not a fish, but a person. What kind of demon is this? How can I fight this? Why are movie gangsters using sashimi knives? Perhaps, in the final seconds of his life in this virtual space, he wondered. Can a sashimi knife cut a person? It's only for fish, this madman, it's only in movies. His master shouted, even God wouldn't help you, you idiot. If he gets cut, it's over, everyone knows that. As the fist approached Yoma's face, he had a realization. Something shattered in his brain, like the future. Die, you bastard, Mao Shun jumped, he was shouting something, but his scream was cut in two by a blade. Hopefully, his arm was cut off by a sashimi blade. Severed, Yoma's eyes blazed. The Lord's blessing will be with you, exactly as promised. Mao Shun's prosthetic arm fell to the ground.
Boss, why do movie gangsters? Before he could finish, a kitchen knife flew at Kong, scaring him witless. I told you to call me master, and why are you asking this? My first master was a former gangster. To atone for his sins, he cut off one of his hands, then he opened a sashimi restaurant because he wanted to use his knife skills to bring happiness to people. His skill is truly impressive. Why do movie gangsters always use sashimi knives? I'm curious, but someone with his level of skill shouldn't be asking such questions. Think about it, if you stab someone with a large kitchen knife, the skin will start to shrink. Will you be able to pull it out? Sashimi is very small, so it can be stabbed repeatedly and can be pulled out easily. It's easy to stab a human with just one stab, and the human can get a fish, but the human can't. A fish flies on a cutting board, making it easy to cut. If it could stand, it'd be a mermaid. In comics, every cut is swift and clean, but you lack skill, boss. Kid, I'm your master, not your boss. Even a god of blades would follow basic etiquette, understand? Back to the present, Mao Shan's huge arm was severed. He watched his arm fly through the air. For a moment he was almost dumbfounded, not only his brother. He or Chloe were also stunned. Kong held the knife, motionless. The air around him became strangely cold. Mao Shan clutched his severed arm, screaming in pain and agony. My hand hurts so much. Kong approached him step by step. He was terrified. Don't come closer. I told you not to come closer. Help me. Mao Jun stared, dumbfounded, at what was happening. Shun screamed, calling for his brother. Brother, save me, you bastard, hurry, he screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Kong, from behind, swiftly and silently beheaded him. In front of the worm's eyes is a pool of blood. His eyes were white, bloodless, his breathing was ragged. He died, his legs wouldn't move. He looked at his brother's severed face on the ground, his eyes wide, still filled with tears. Only then did he react, screaming. The knife in his hand shines like a shiny and sharp light tower. Calm down, this is empty space. That knife Shun is not really dead yet. Even so, I'm not sure what's wrong with that bastard, but it seems like this is the first time he dared to do something like that. Breathing heavily, trembling, is this just a coincidence? I have to be careful with that knife. Shun's mistake was being too careless. This weapon will unleash its full power when worn on both hands, and Determination Blessing, Enhanced Defense, Heaven's Blessing, 200% Power Amplification, Spirit Blessing, Reinforced Fist. Activate immediately. This is an A-class weapon that ordinary people wouldn't even dare to dream of. I don't know where you found that sword, but even an S-class weapon couldn't scratch it. I'm not like Shun. Kang's body trembled slightly. He muttered, counting down. Just stand there like an idiot. Are you denying it? I'll smash your head in. June heard his countdown. Suddenly, something felt wrong. What the hell? The knife glowed on Shun's body. June wasn't doing much better. He continued counting down to the final numbers. When you count to 1. His vision faded as he reached 0. System announcement, the effect of the painless divine power has ended. Because his hand still held the knife and had not let go, his ability now began to reflect back at him. I don't know how long it took for Kang's eyes to slowly wake up. When he opened his eyes, the ceiling was illuminated. He blinked a few times, vaguely wondering, is this a hospital? When he tried to sit up, he felt a sharp pain in his body. A serious-looking, cold man flung open the door and entered. Then he turned to those outside and said, "The student is awake." People quickly rushed in. A familiar face, I recognize him. 50 years ago, he defeated the Demon King, the commander of the 6th Legion. 2 of the 7-star heroes. The stern-faced man, Siegfried, looked down at Kong, his brow furrowed. The strongest human, Siegfried, and the friendly Media. Are you all right? She asked. She's the headmistress of the Saints Academy, Media Poison. Why are these 2 people? What's your name? Kong Yoma. Get to the point, Kong Yoma. What the hell did you do? The atmosphere at that time was not my imagination, but the fact that I had done it. He looked up at the 2 strongest people. Being pinned by this monster isn't a good thing. Even if it was just a void dimension, I think their actions went too far. However, I also think my actions were excessive. I accept any punishment. Then, the two of them engaged in a fiery staring contest. Media sighed and mumbled, "This old fool, how can you treat a child like that even when I say so? Siegfried is the one who gave me blood when I was unconscious. People often say that the older they get, the more difficult they become, but that's not true, Star. Except for this face of mine, of course." "I told you to stop. Look at that old man blushing," Media said, taking the opportunity to get closer. "Why doesn't he scold me? My body feels so light, more like drenched." "Yoma, while you were unconscious, we extracted the recording and showed the staff the scene where you risked your life to protect a poor girl. You were truly like a prince in a dream." "No, I'm definitely a prince." Then I heard the annoying voice behind the Media grumbling, "Knowing this old man," he sternly said, "keep your integrity. There's nothing wrong with your actions in the exam, so don't worry. The truth is, the Mao twins got into the academy because they flattered the elders. They said they'd drop out themselves." He paused and breathed a sigh of relief. "That's quick. It seems like we won't have to deal with them at school anymore." "We're here to inform you." "Yes, thank you, teacher." "Yoma, you're one of the highest scoring students. Congratulations." He smiled foolishly, as if he hadn't heard a word. "What? What the hell? Where's my peace and quiet?" "At the Academy's gigantic building." Media sat in the chair, sighing. "I've been the headmaster of this academy for almost 20 years, and this is the first time I've seen this." "At that time," Khan flatly said, "I don't want to." Both of them were shocked, speechless. They didn't expect him to react like that. "Yoma, do you understand the significance of the elite class? Did you hear that while the elders are very angry, the top student is decided based on the results scored directly in the dimension?" Khan remained silent for a while. "The results you presented haven't changed, but Media still doesn't want to accept it." Siegfried watched them argue without saying anything. Media's voice pulled him back to the present. "He's still upset that Yoma won first place, not his granddaughter. Why does he keep looking at his feet? How foolish." "Nothing is more foolish than doubting the judgment of the dimensional space, where the will of the Academy's founding hero resides. He chose him as the leader, so we just follow the decision, that's all. If his skills are outstanding, it's understandable. If his physique is excellent, we'll accept it. If he has extensive experience, I will nod in agreement. But an immature kid has shown. Every movement seems to contain some kind of concept. The swordsmanship that I have pursued all my life. Yet, I feel anxious about awakening his bloodline. A body that has never undergone physical training, weak and indecisive. It felt like there was something in his body that shouldn't be contained. At this age. And still having this competitive spirit, especially with a kid who's practically his grandchild. That face is so handsome, and the way he defeated the enemy to save a terrified girl. If I were 10 years younger, no, even at this age. Hey, old man, what do you think? Do you know what college students call women your age?" Media, legs crossed on the chair, opened her mouth. "Tell me clearly, what do they call people like me?" He put down the teacup. The Media waited anxiously. Before Media's expectant gaze, he emphasized each word. "They call you an old hag." As soon as she heard, her pupils constricted with rage. The entire table trembled. The coffee was about to spill under Media's pressure. Then, there was nothing more. Khan came to the wolf class, standing before the blackboard, slightly hesitant. He looked at the class signboard for a long time. "This is the best deal I could get. She has to be moved to a higher class. Headmaster, she wants to go to the tiger class, the top class. How can she go there, in this school that emphasizes fairness? How can we, even then, not the tiger class? Instead, we'll help her keep it a secret. If we put her in the tiger class, the elders will make a bigger fuss. Completing her studies in a lower class is better than competing with higher-ranked classes. At least, everything is still under my control." I thought as I opened the door and walked in. The sound of the door closing was a bit loud. He seemed to be stunned for a moment and then observed that everyone in the class focused their eyes on the newcomer. No one said anything, no one seemed to care. He briefly noticed his unusual nameplate. Everyone returned to their own business, ignoring Kong. Kong walked down, choosing a seat, silently praying to be ignored. He was completely ignored. It seemed the principal had tried to keep his information confidential, a solitary person with his own way of life. Perhaps that was a good thing. He noticed the person who had just arrived. A red-haired girl named Chloe timidly spoke, apologizing and thanking him for what he had done. The space around them suddenly fell strangely silent. He was bewildered. She continued, referring to the exam. Only then did he remember the exam. Ah, that's what it was about. Why such a formal tone? We're the same age. I don't need thanks. Anyone would have done the same. In the end, it seemed like I saved her, but I was just trying to survive. I felt like a hypocrite. Now that I think about it, we haven't introduced ourselves. I'm Kanyoma. I'm Chloe. Nice to meet you. I didn't expect we'd be in the same class. I'm glad to meet you too. Kong tried to recall Chloe from before his time slip. Chloe, who is she? I've played almost every game, and I still don't know this character. From what I know, the latter part of the story focuses on fighting demons, a new character appearing now. It's beyond imagination. Ah, she's just a background character, like me. Oh, by the way, can you keep what happened during the exam a secret? Yeah, of course. By the way, if you don't mind. Before he could finish, the instructor who had just entered shouted, "Everyone, back to your seats." I politely told Chloe to talk later first. Congratulations on your acceptance. You have all been chosen to inherit the will of the founding hero, Valor Joaquin, a great honor. I'm Lee Wonbin, your homeroom teacher for the Wolf class. Today's the first day, so we'll start with some basic physical training. Change into your training clothes and assemble at the training ground in 30 minutes. A student asked, "What's the training, sir?" Simple, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and then 10 laps around the training ground. If there are no more questions, change and assemble at the training ground. Dismissed. Is this training to turn students into soldiers or something? Kong hesitantly approached the teacher. Sir, instructor, something's up. Kanyoma. I'm feeling a little unwell, sir. How did you know my name? Oh, it doesn't matter. The point is, I need to find a way to avoid this boring training. Teacher Lee pondered. Well, this training will make you stronger, or, how about switching to advanced spiritual training? The principal has allowed you to take all the classes. He was speechless. Damn that woman. No, I think I just need to rest for a bit. My body is tired, and this schedule suits me perfectly, worthy of being the top student. See you at the training ground. He changed and went to the gymnasium. He dragged his feet, slowly running on the field. The other students were energetic. 1, 2, don't be lazy, faster, faster. He was exhausted, breathless, and cursing, damn it. Amidst the shouts of 1, 2, 1, 2, he was struggling to breathe. Seeing this, Chloe ran over. That's tough, you don't look so good. He forced a smile. I'm fine. What lap are you on, Yoma? 5th. You, Chloe, you seem to be lagging a bit. I'm on the 9th lap. Kong felt embarrassed. Chloe cheered him on enthusiastically. Come on, you can do it. Then she dashed off to finish her run, leaving Kong staring after her. As the others ran behind her, her physical strength gradually hit rock bottom, and the last bit of her strength was used up. Soon, evening fell. Back in his room, empty mineral water bottles littered the floor. Not even a drop of water was left. He placed a bottle firmly on the table. Exhausted, he lay on the bed, sighing wearily. My gosh, I'm starving. In my first week at the academy, I encountered an unexpected problem. In the dining hall. He looked around excitedly. I'm starving, a portion of pork, please hurry. The kitchen worker glanced sharply at him. He saw a food coupon dispenser right in front of him. It's free. I'll take a coupon now, a pork and rice set, please. As quickly as turning a page, the smile on his face vanished. He looked. I just ordered the meal and then looked at the price attached next to it. Then, a huge price board loomed before him. His voice trembled as he read, 50,000 won, for pork. He stood there muttering about the price, finally giving up and choosing a can of water instead. He squeezed the bottle until the very last drop. Thinking of his pitiful situation, he tossed the empty bottle away, starving to death. 50,000 won for a pork and rice set, that's highway robbery. I'm almost out of living expenses. He looked again at the mineral water bottle on the floor. Then, defeated, he curled up in his blanket. I should have saved that money. I'm such an idiot. I've been surviving on the cheapest water in the academy for days now. At that moment, a huge system board appeared before his eyes. Just thinking about it, the status window appeared, but... Saying this, he got out of bed and walked in front of the full-length mirror. Looking at his six-pack abs and significantly improved physique, he was satisfied. It wasn't a waste of effort. The sword god's blessing has opened up my meridians. At this rate, I'll reach new heights. The sword god's blessing hasn't leveled up yet, but if I keep improving step by step, I'll soon be able to wield a short sword. He looked at the knife on the table again. Just the other day at the entrance ceremony, I was scared to touch a sword, but now if I don't hold one for a minute, my hands and feet itch. Is this the effect of the blessing? Am I being a little too proud? At this moment, there was a knock at the door. Who was it? Who's there? He was surprised to see Chloe standing at the door. Oh, am I disturbing your rest, Chloe? Why is she here? He politely replied. Not at all, I was just lying down. What's up? She said shyly. It's been a week, and I haven't seen you in the academy cafeteria. I was worried you weren't feeling well. Oh, I'm not used to eating food cooked by others. He tried to stop his saliva from dripping. He secretly loved the idea. Oh, I see. Don't worry then. If you're okay with it, I was planning on buying some things from the academy's grocery store to cook dinner. Hearing this, he immediately went out. Let's go. She looked confused, and he added, aren't you inviting me to dinner? I'm a great cook, so let me take care of it. Chloe's dorm is across the street, right? Let's go together. The scene changed to nighttime. They finished dinner. Chloe exclaimed, wow, that was delicious. I'm glad you liked it. He doesn't throw anything away and is very fast. He looked at the clean plate, thinking about preparing the next meal. He thought, I only know how to boil fish. I've never cooked like this before. Let me check the fridge. But you really like fish, don't you? I'm from a riverside region. That's amazing, because my specialty is fish dishes. Good, I'm itching to cook too. Let's try making some sashimi, but the problem is... Looking at the small knives, he sighed wryly. The sword god's blessing. Do you have a longer knife? No, I understand. You know, my weapon is a sword, so I think using these knives is a bit strange. A moment later she returned to Yoma. Is this okay? She eagerly carried the sword. No, I only use kitchen knives. This one is not Japanese anymore. No, it's not. Finish within 30 seconds. Activate the painless blessing. I'll become the greatest swordsman. Looking at the fish in front of you, using the blessing of the sword god, the fish on the cutting board was quickly processed. He smiled contentedly. 21 seconds to remove the bones, fins, and fillet the fish. That's excellent, like a masterpiece. I'm still alive. Why are you so good at cooking, Yoma? I used to work part-time at a Japanese restaurant. Part-time. You don't know what part-time work is, she shyly apologized. There's nothing to apologize for, as I think about this class difference. Anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed the meal. Since you prepared the meal, let me do the dishes. Thank you, please let me. Now, my stomach, which was only holding on with water, has had a warm meal. His stomach was full and satisfied. Even the moonlight seemed more beautiful than usual. Looking at the moon made him want to hum a song. Suddenly, the sound of a broken bowl startled him. Chloe stammered an apology from behind. Apology. Then, several more plates and bowls broke. He chuckled, wondering if she had ever washed dishes before. Right, at that age, I had to wash dishes too. Suddenly, a notebook fell from the shelf, attracting Kang's attention. The notebook accidentally opened to a few pages decorated with cute stickers and drawings. Looking at it, he immediately recognized it. It's a diary, the round handwriting and cute stickers. Chloe is really just like other girls her age. I should put it back. He thought so, but the wind suddenly helped him turn the book. He hadn't intended to read it, but curiosity got the better of him. So cute, so that's why you couldn't talk to me. Should I read a little more? Reading the next page, he froze. The whole page was filled with repeated confessions of love, line after line. Every word was clearly a confession of love, yet Kong felt a chill down his spine. His frozen thoughts, thanks to the sound of breaking dishes, brought him back to life. You see, heroic families earn respect by slaying monsters, gaining societal admiration and consolidating their status. However, within these stagnant organizations, benefits are still granted to exploit the poor under the guise of authority. With the government's power lost, one heroic family rose up, cloaking themselves in darkness. That family is the Auditor of Sicily, a family that operates in shadows to pursue the light, combining upholding order with assassination. Those born into the Auditor family undergo a neurological examination before puberty, remove emotions, and undergo very harsh training. Or in other words, ever since I was a child, I have had to watch the person I love the most being blinded in front of my eyes. With a sword in hand, even trembling, even screaming 1,000 times that they don't want to, they are forced to kill their most beloved person. To become an assassin, the age when a girl first attracts herself by blood is 15 years old. Chloe, Auditor of Sicily, don't deny your assassination talent. That's what she heard before she was an adult. Chloe accepted it. Constant practice made her mentally twisted. It created a deep darkness in her heart. And so it continued until her reason completely disappeared, leaving only traces of emotion. Chloe reached school age. That's the Joaquin Academy, where students are placed in classes based on their skills. Although every member of the Auditor family, clearly dark elements, possesses skills above the dragon class, they are all placed in regular classes due to a family tradition, an agreement between the family and the academy. But Chloe brought with her the words the elder once said, "Disappear from my sight." Somewhere inside her, a dark void formed. However, 3 years of her youth were taken away from her family and her freedom was lost. Faced with the fate of becoming an assassin, Chloe didn't complain, she just accepted it and didn't think of a way to change it. She thought so until she met a male student who appeared on the entrance exam with some attachments from her perspective and shouted to attract attention. "Are you crazy, you wretched fool? Don't touch him." In the royal family's war in that space, even if this wasn't a real war, it would be her first time experiencing one. She wasn't afraid. Chloe calmly accepted the predetermined death. She had long given up on futile resistance. That's how she learned to live, and that's how she had always lived. We'll deal with you first, then that girl. Yes, nothing can be changed. Fate is sealed. Or has already been determined. But it felt like sunlight piercing the dark clouds of a storm. Something was burning fiercely within her. A sword wielded with all her heart, a sword drawn to protect someone. She was the reason that student used his sword. In her childhood, she always remembered the fairy tale she secretly kept beside her bed. The images and words told a story of a prince imprisoned in a castle. She immediately thought of Kong, the boy who protected her. A story about how a prince appeared and saved people. Her face flushed, her chest filled with an indescribable emotion. Chloe has only one unmistakable thought: love. Back to the current story, the forced smile on Kang's face suddenly twitched. Chloe was now filled with intense killing intent. He tried to force a more awkward smile than ever before. Then the room fell silent. Damn, it's not okay. What have I done? Was it when I saw this innocent girl, or when I foolishly followed her for a meal? He decided to open his mouth to Chloe. Isn't the moonlight tonight very beautiful? But the response was still silence. Seeing the situation escalating, he made his escape. Thank you, it's been a long time since I had such a good meal. I'll go now, see you tomorrow. She suddenly spoke. You saw it, didn't you? What that? He immediately thought of the diary he had just read. Ah, are you talking about this notebook? You must have studied very hard. She coldly interrupted. My diary. Hearing this, Kong fell silent. Do you have eyes in the back of your head? When did you see it? and that tone you always use, I told you to change it. I didn't. You haven't seen anything yet. I haven't seen anything, don't lie. Yes, I saw it. Then the space fell silent again. Suddenly, a chill ran down his spine. Chloe, with a cold face, slowly drew her sword. Wherever the sword came out, a sharp light flashed. Kong instinctively stepped back. What? Suddenly. No, you don't want to do anything, do you? He considered jumping out the window, but Kong was currently on the 4th floor, the highest floor. If he jumped, he'd be smashed to pieces. What about the knife I used before? If I go that far, I will definitely lose a leg or arm. Chloe moved closer to attack. Kong hastily retreated a few steps. At this dangerous moment, the paper cutter on the desk caught his eye. Like an arrow, Chloe lunged forward, initiating combat. Cam reluctantly grabbed a paper knife to retaliate. I wanted to resolve this through talking, but it seems that won't work. A window popped up displaying the user's mental state. The status window of words and actions temporarily carried a threatening aura. Power was being adjusted for better compatibility. The Sword God's guardian deity has been activated. May God's blessings always be with you. One side, a long sword actively charged, the other, a paper knife, stood ready to retaliate. Regardless of whether she heard him or not, he said, Chloe, your hair is a bit long. Let me help you trim it a bit. I don't know how that little fight ended or how much time passed. Chloe woke up, clutching her head and muttering the name Yoma. Where are you, Yoma? I remember looking out the window while washing dishes. I peeked a little. Oh, right, my sword. When she saw her sword in the corner, she was startled. Then I breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, I often lost consciousness when holding the sword. When she was little, it was the same. Upon waking, she received praise from her grandfather. Looking at the sword, her grandfather's words echoed, "Don't deny your assassination talent." Hugging her pillow, she yelled, "Chloe, you idiot, why did you faint then, Yoma?" The more she called out Yoma, the redder her face became. Did I say anything strange while I was unconscious? Then she noticed the paper knife on the floor. Only then did she notice her hairstyle. Why was that paper knife on the ground? It seems my hair is shorter. Was that knife used to cut my hair? Looks like he cleaned up and left. Yoma is really kind. I should write it down in my diary before I forget. So she quickly went to the table and opened the diary, her eyes filled with love, taking notes. At the end, I ended up saying, Yoma, I like you, Kong. Over here, there's no such happiness. I'm stuck outside the campus. Everything I ate tonight is coming back out. Kong overcame that situation. He exceeded the 9-second mark by 5 seconds. That's what happened. Ugh, I'm about to throw up everything I ate for dinner. After expelling the food, he sat on the chair, sighing wearily. My whole dinner was gone and I'm so hungry. He looked up at the moon shining brightly in the vast sky, muttering Chloe's name. Usually, a swordsman's aim is to either take the enemy's life with one strike or subdue them. However, the sword Chloe used continuously targeted weak points, as if it was specifically designed for assassination. If I were ambushed, my head would definitely roll. Feeling my life threatened, my instincts targeted the back of his neck. Luckily, the knife was short, so it only cut his hair. Feeling my life threatened, my instincts targeted the back of his neck. Thinking about this, he couldn't help but sigh. I cleaned up quickly so there probably wouldn't be any other traces left. Everything seems fine and stable. Safety and security aren't easy at all. They often say that living a normal life is the hardest, but this is even scarier than that. The truth is that it's my first time playing this shameless game. I'm full of ambition. For someone who has reached the pinnacle, using a sashimi knife, abandoning the romance of a man isn't easy. However, everyone has their own mission. Miracle Blessing is the name of the game, and blessings are only bestowed upon the main character of this world, someone I haven't met yet. Besides the blessing of courage, B.A. Lo Joaquin, I remember there being only 2 legendary blessings in this game. They both belong to intuition. Please save the world from the Demon King. And the main character was chosen by the Holy Sword and the Demon Wound Wound, otherwise I still need to explain. Focus, Furthermore, entering this academy, constantly encountering unrealistic numbers and situations has made me forget my goal. Many reasons have held me back. Now I think, could it be that there isn't a single normal path in this academy? I don't understand the key characters in this game very well, but my knowledge of this world is also limited. It's only been a week since I started studying at this academy. The main character has appeared, and they've completed the enrollment procedures. That means the story of this game has truly begun. I know the general plot, but I don't know the ending. I can't believe I regret quitting this game, of course. Knowing the main story up to the middle is a clear advantage. No matter what happens, just follow the official route. If everything gets messed up, all the effort will be wasted. If I remember correctly, the Dark Ages will begin from semester 253. Smelling the birth of a hero, the demons will unite the forces of the Demon Master's army and come to threaten the academy. The scale will grow larger and eventually, between demons and humans, a world war will break out. But the game's story follows a rather cliché trope, a person pursuing a brilliant youth without experiencing adolescence, so I deleted the game. What's even scarier is that something terrible has happened in this world. War, I'll die in a war. No, there are still almost 3 years left. My most realistic goal now is to escape this absurd place. I can't just give up. I need to become stronger to survive. Most mass-produced games like this have a happy ending. This world will also be saved by the main characters, but I need the strength to protect myself. I can't just leave my fate to chance. Therefore, I need to train myself quietly. If I'm too outstanding, I might be called into the army to fight those demons, which is something I need to avoid. Furthermore, I need to be careful when using the instantaneous blessing. Why did I pick up that sashimi knife? Now the burden is on my shoulders. The system displays personal stats. He couldn't help but exclaim, impressive, but it seems there's a lot of new information. Physical, mental, weapons, the numbers here seem to represent levels. And what's this synchronization rate? What are these question marks? What's this? When he clicked to check, the system changed color, access restricted due to insufficient conditions. It doesn't matter, another mystery. The most important thing is physical training, and I need a new weapon. I can't rely on the 30-second instantaneous blessing forever. I also need to train with a sword, but not under the conditions of the sword god's blessing. Luckily, there's a practical combat test next month instead of the midterm exam. The reward for this training is the Mara's blade. If I can use it proficiently, that'll be enough to graduate. Its standards aren't the same as the sword god's blessing, so it won't be my main weapon. There's more to do than I thought. Lost in thought, a clear voice suddenly rang out in his ear. He then looked up at the other person, a breathtakingly beautiful face, dotted with sweat, hands covered in small wounds, carrying a shining sword. She said it was her seat. Then both were silent. She looked at him. He looked bewildered at the beautiful girl before him. The two kept looking at each other for a long time without seeing his response. She angrily asked him to move away for a bit, only then did he respond. Damn you, no matter how I look at it, it looks like a dream, so I just keep staring at him without paying attention. She said there was no need to go away, just move a little bit. Your seat is not shared, it's a class distinction. That's right, if you get involved with the main character, it will be very complicated, so even if you don't like it, you should stay away. I thought so, but my eyes still couldn't leave Abel. Unconsciously he glanced over and admired how beautiful it was. She suddenly spoke up, startling Kong. This is where the brightest star is. Hearing her say that, he unconsciously looked over again. Then looked up at the beautiful night sky. This is truly the Sword Saint's niece. I know why the handsome main character was so difficult to approach in the first place. Your weapon is also a sword. How do you know? You told me. I heard that swordsmen have completely different eyes. Hearing this, Kong felt nervous and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Abel took his sword over and showed it to him. His proud eyes said if he wanted to try holding it. Looking at Miss Kong Hesitant's quality sword, it doesn't look heavy at all. She puffed her cheeks and turned away. He thought he was stretching. It's really hard to adapt. Is this really Abel? I know. Ben hesitantly asked, You know me, right? Kong was slightly surprised. Was he suspecting him? Of course not, everyone in this school knows who Abel is. He looked at her and replied, I know a little bit. She immediately said, I don't know you. She frowned. What did he mean? Isn't it a bit odd that you know my name but I don't know yours? Should I tell my name to a stranger I just met? For all I know, you could be a demon lord spy trying to infiltrate the academy. Or I can't think of any reason why you're still sitting here alone at this late hour. He felt a little speechless. She held her sword, ready to fight depending on his answer. But there's no reason, so why are you here? Isn't it obvious? I'm training here. I'm also training. What are you training? She frowned, curious. He calmly and softly answered. At this moment, he noticed the wounds on her hands. Seeing that, she immediately hid her hands full of wounds. Seeing her like this, he didn't ask much. You're really very diligent, of course. People don't know what it feels like to have Nibelung blood flowing in you. They always have to put on a perfect facade. If they show a little weakness, everyone will trample on it. You know I'm not the student with the highest score this year. To be honest, this is the first time I lost to someone, but you know what? Saying this, her cheeks flushed, and a small smile appeared on her lips. On the contrary, I feel a little relieved, but on the other hand, I'm still curious who defeated me. I want to know who they are. I'll crush them next time. Do you really have to go that far? It's a matter of honor. I begged him for more details, but he said that person isn't even in my class. That person even dared to break the advantage. How can I live with second-rate labels forever? Why would I say these things to a stranger? Why would you tell me? Tilting her head, she looked at Kong and replied, because you seem weak. My family's motto is to be firm with the strong and merciful with the weak. Everyone in my class is very good at what they do, so I don't have any friends. That's why the character it just feels so distant. I think I'll be here tonight, so hello. She suddenly became quiet and thought about something. So, will you tell me your name? Or he immediately replied, I don't want to. What a guy. The next morning in class, Kong sat and thought about how life at the academy was more peaceful than he thought. Chloe quickly made friends with others and integrated into the whole class, while I had to busy avoiding eye contact and confrontation. In case of eye contact with him, his new friend will look at me with cold eyes, but I can't take those disdainful glances as nothing. Furthermore, I'm not the only special student in this tiger-level class. There aren't many people like me, but they're very hesitant to attack others, probably because they have too much of an illusion of strength. If you think about it this way, it's fortunate to be in the higher classes. Because right now, the spirit level and dragon level classes are vying for power. Before, he thought of them as clowns. If he were in that class now, his head would explode. At least now he could eat and sleep well. What should he eat today? Thinking this, he happily pulled out a card. He remembered Kumdia giving him the card earlier. Top students like you should have received this treatment earlier. Sorry for the wait. Looking at the school faculty card, his heart fluttered. Even if he bowed 3 times a day to the principal, he couldn't express his gratitude enough. Now, 1 minute of silence begins. He emphasized each word in his mind. Thank you very much. He had fulfilled his duty as a student, right? He hadn't changed the main storyline too much, so he would just live like this for the remaining 3 years, if this continues. He could live the life he wanted in the future. 700 years ago. After the first great demon war, the hero Joaquin, who realized the need to cultivate the next generation of heroes, founded this academy with 7 principles. These sentences will be on the test, so remember to study this information carefully. Kong, dazed, slumped on the desk. It was all stuff he knew by heart. Founding hero Joaquin Baylor. In 20 years of fighting against the commander of the First Legion against the commander of the First Legion and the right hand of the Demon King Lycan, he fought and won. However, Joaquin lost an arm and could no longer participate in combat. The screams could be heard everywhere. It was a bloody war with no winners or losers. Luckily, humanity in Asia had reached a truce, war. And the hero Joaquin founded this academy to nurture the next generation of talent. Thus, the first human-demon war led to the signing of a non-aggression pact, ushering in an era of 700 years of peace. The other students whispered and discussed, wondering if there would be a war in their time, a war in the 21st century. I'm more worried about what to wear to the party tomorrow, haha. Kong fell into a trance. 700 years of peace. I'm the only one who knows about the first crack in this peaceful era. Everyone's become too accustomed to the tranquility. I really want to tell the headmistress what's happening, but I don't know what the consequences will be. Although she hasn't hidden her intention to resign as headmistress as soon as possible. Media is the first character in the story, who sensed the abnormality thanks to her poet lord. And she was also the first among the 7 great heroes to stand up and protect the students. I don't play that stage much, but I really respect her. She was the first person to die in the battle with the Demon King. She gave birth. Thinking back, Kang's eyes suddenly became strangely quiet. He wished he didn't know anything. Just come here today, remember to study hard for the test 2 weeks later. As soon as the class ended, the classroom was bustling with new information. Watching the crowd chattering, Kong curiously pricked up his ears to eavesdrop. Is it him? Then he remembered the game's content, quickly checking his phone. May 1st, today. He won't go to my class, right? Of course, he obviously has to go to the elite class. He tried to look in the crowd if I remember correctly. On May 5th, he'll enroll. The main character of this world, Leon Van Reinhardt, and the first crack in the 700 years of peace will appear. What a nuisance, looking at his handsome face is just annoying. As said, all the women in this game will fall for him. If this were an adult game, maybe it would be better. Leon probably died before fighting the Demon King. Moreover, the girls who fall in love with him are all top tier. Rachel de Mayura, granddaughter of the holy priest Saki Ryojo, the daughter of the holy archer Abel Vaughn. Nibelung, granddaughter of the Sword Emperor. All the main characters are impressed by this hateful guy. But the main character of the Miracle Blessing, thanks to Leon Van Reinhardt, will be one of the first to train in the next 3 years. Actually, rehearsal is an understatement. I refuse to go through it a second time. It's no different from being forced to join the army. Incidentally, even Valor Joaquin could only seal 1 Legion commander, so how strong must the Demon King be? No way, could this be a crazy story where even the main character loses? Without realizing it, Leon sensed something approaching him. He took his eyes off the person in front of him and looked up to search. As soon as they looked up, their eyes met. Leon immediately smiled friendly and wanted to say hello. From that moment Kong understood. Right, we're talking about the blessing miracle, aren't we? The main character will solve it himself. His face is so trustworthy. I don't know when I was convinced. While Kong Yoma was lost in thought, a voice came from behind. He turned around, a little surprised, looking at the owner of the voice. That night at the training court, Kong changed into his training clothes, his hand waving a wooden sword to warm up. He looked at his hands, muttering to himself, as he had predicted, if he didn't meet the standard, the blessing would be activated. A certain level of swordsmanship was required. Then, the person who called him, Chloe, hesitantly spoke. What did I do wrong? Look. With her innocent and simple appearance, Kong could only laugh wryly. I almost lost my head. I really wanted to say that, but we still have to study together for several years. He immediately said, It's nothing. She asked if it was true. He nodded in confirmation. We must maintain peace here. We shouldn't create unnecessary hatred and resentment. Hearing his confirmation, she breathed a sigh of relief. That's a relief. Kong, however, narrowed his eyes skeptically. What's his real way of doing things? Even when unconscious, he could use a sword that seemed sad, a sword that seemed to be crying for help, for some reason, but it was still filled with killing intent. If he intends to deal with someone, it would probably be more dangerous than the Mao brothers. Reason, but it was still filled with killing intent. If he intends to deal with someone, it would probably be more dangerous than the Mao brothers. That's right, Yoma, if it's alright, may I invite you to dinner? I just want to thank you. Of course, I'm not as good at cooking as you. That dinner, speaking of which, the image of Chloe coldly drawing her sword caused him to flinch involuntarily. But Chloe's sparkling, pleading, adorable look. It's a strange look to refuse, but if I agree, I might end up in the embalming chamber tomorrow. His mind raced. Chloe, this is a little strange, but instead of dinner, could you help me with this? How can I help you? I can't think of anyone else but you. Hearing that, Chloe's cheeks flushed. Me, what do I have to do? Could you teach me swordsmanship? That's how we get to the scene of Kong tensely looking at the wooden sword like now. Anyway, I need someone to teach me swordsmanship. It's a good excuse. Chloe is incredibly strong after all. From that day on, the only thing I looked at before going to sleep was how to survive. It seems to be somewhat helpful. Chloe's cheerful voice rang out. Yoma, you've been here since when? I've been waiting over there. Chloe, I just arrived. How about you? Her face bright, she replied without a second thought. I just got here too. What time is it? 6:30. He was speechless, looking at her. We agreed on 8 o'clock, right? Chloe scratched her head and chuckled awkwardly. Right. But... Seeing Kong staring at her intently, Chloe instinctively looked at herself. Is something wrong? Kong shook his head. I didn't notice. He wears his uniform all day, but now I can see his abs and muscles. Now I understand why he's so strong. Anyway, he's cute and respectable. He handed the wooden sword to Chloe. Here, take this. Slightly dazed, she received the sword. I thought we'd be using real swords. Did I hear wrong? Who would train with real swords? It's not a fight to the death. Kong, like a robot, monotonously said. Training. We should use wooden swords to avoid injury. Chloe finally understood and awkwardly scratched her head. She looked at the sword in her hand and muttered strangely, so kind, haha. She looked at the wooden sword in her hand, thoughtfully. Then, with a casual swing, she cleaved the earth and dust below like waves. Kang's face paled. How strong is she? It sounds like she cut the air itself. I have to be careful. Finally, the blessing. He quickly opened the system panel to check, confirmed, the sword stats are fine. Physical growth is also stable, but is a normal blessing like this, although normal blessings increase skill levels. But are there any additional effects? I don't remember these things very well. But what's the requirement? Khan seemed to be thinking about something. Chloe hesitantly called out to him. Is something wrong? Oh, sorry, it seems only I can see the system. I probably look like an idiot. It's the first time today, so take it easy. She nodded immediately. Kong. Tighten the sword in that position. Let's begin, shall we? The moment the words left his mouth, the space fell into a chilling silence. In my past life, I always lived realistically, believing only what I saw. To become a master in any field, the sacrifice of blood and bone is not enough. But you must be ready to change your entire body. It's also the fact that I adapted quickly to the academy. The product of what I learned when I was young. My hands were sweating, my posture awkward, but the essence of swordsmanship is precision in targeting the opponent. When he opened his eyes and calmly faced her, Chloe, wielding a wooden sword, approached closer and closer. He flinched for a moment, so sudden, he thought, seeing the wooden sword aimed straight at his neck, too fast. But very quickly he dodged that fatal blow. In just the moment the sword grazed his left cheek. Damn, I said take it easy. Then Chloe changed her grip on the wooden sword, her eyes cold and sharp, and continued her attack. This time Kong blocked an attack from Chloe. His hands gripped the sword tightly, trembling, it felt so heavy. But I still blocked it. I'll strike down like this. But without warning, she leaped into the air, preparing another attack. The situation forced him to change his grip on the sword. Damn it, she's even faster. Was that last attack just a feint? He used all his strength to block Chloe's downward strike. In an instant, cracks appeared in his sword. She continued her relentless attack. Kong fought back while retreating. Chloe now had the upper hand, her attacks overwhelming. Each blow was like a thunderbolt. One hit would be fatal. I'm reaching my limit. There's no chance to counterattack. Until finally, Kang's wooden sword, too, reached its limit and snapped in two. Only then did the fight stop, and Chloe finally came to her senses. Flustered, she apologized. I meant to go easy, but I broke it. She looked timidly at Yoma. The sword is over here. The system also starts operating. The weapon used does not meet the conditions. the weapon has been damaged, an error has occurred, forced startup and self-adjustment gradually reduce humanity. The sword god's blessing activates Heat Kong, who is no longer in control of himself. His whole body radiated strong energy and he held the broken sword as if holding a sharp knife. System mechanism confirms eligibility to activate weapon, warns of weapon trouble. Chloe instinctively jumps away, maintaining the safest possible distance from Kong Yoma. She was completely confused and looked at the strange Kong in front of her as the system automatically started and forced self-adjustment. Humanity is gradually disappearing. Seek God's blessing. As his humanity faded, somewhere in the recesses of his consciousness, he wondered, where am I? The kitchen, was all that just a dream? That's right, I'm preparing the fish, back to work. It's been a long time, should I use the chef's knife again? Oh, why can't I select an item? Then I'll use this knife. Wait, this doesn't work either, don't worry about it, just keep doing what you're doing. So the only knife left is the sashimi knife. Even so, that sashimi knife is very painful to use. It still feels like that. Strange, I don't feel any pain, on the contrary, it feels refreshing. That's exactly it. Continue, leave it to me. Alright, I have to create a masterpiece today. Unconsciously, Kong seemed to be turning into a puppet, controlled by something. That moment the heat activation is ready. Chloe frantically searched for something. Yoma, are you okay, Yoma? But the more he called back, the more there was no response. In the dust and smoke, he was filled with murderous intent, looking for something. In the blink of an eye, Kong disappeared from sight. Only a blue light shot through the obscuring dust. With unbelievable speed, he closed in on Chloe. She quickly raised her sword. Blocked by an overwhelming force that was completely different from just now, she suddenly had no time to adapt. She accidentally slipped and lost her balance. Kong immediately took the opportunity to make a cut as smooth as cutting open a fish's belly. Luckily, Chloe's training kicked in. She blocked the attack with her sword and used Kang's force to propel herself away. She didn't expect him to use so much force. Although she wasn't directly hit, the sheer force of his attack caused internal injuries. He was completely different from before. Kong Yoma's attack sent her deep into the ground. Chloe tried to dodge the blade and maintain distance. Kong had lost all reason. He was like a monster with bloodshot white eyes and immense power. The attack from earlier had sent me flying far away. It hurts to move. What happened to Yoma? I don't understand what's happening. I need to stop this fight now, Yoma. Yoma, I need to stop this fight. But Yoma, lost in his rage, didn't hear her. He attacked again. Too late, Yoma. Chloe, enduring the pain, called out his name, desperately hoping to reach his remaining rationality. As the long, sharp blade neared, Chloe screamed at the top of her lungs, as if her very soul was crying out, Yoma. Yoma's consciousness began to register something. What's going on? Why does it keep happening? I've never seen a fish that could dodge like that, so fast. This is troublesome. I need to finish this quickly, but it sounds like it's trying to say something. Am I hallucinating? Wait, does the fish know my name? Why does it keep calling me Yoma? That's right, it's me. Chloe's scream reached Yoma's subconscious. The strings controlling him vanished. What is this? The fish suddenly became blurry and transformed into Chloe. She was trying to call his name, to bring him back to his senses, Yoma. The wooden knife in his hand plunged deeply into the wall. He unconsciously caught Chloe, unable to stop himself, only managing to brace himself. Chloe opened her eyes and looked. She realized Yoma was gently holding her. He softly said, "Let's call it a day." So gentle, concerned, she looked up at him. Yoma, are you okay? Thank you for the training, I'll go ahead. He turned and left, leaving Chloe staring after him in bewilderment. Outside, Chloe returned to her room after class placement testing. Yoma's skills weren't just raw power, there was something strange about them. It wasn't just skill, it was instinct. Even without using blessing, I'm still no match for him. And that, the wooden sword was broken in two. I know he's strong, but, lost in thought, a voice interrupted her. Enjoying yourself, Chloe? It was Chloe's older brother, a second-year student. She hesitated slightly and called him brother. He frowned. Is sparring with lowlifes all you do after entering the academy? Don't talk about Yoma like that. So that's Yoma. If you continue sparring with that kind of person, the auditor will eliminate him. She remained calm. She closed her eyes, lost in thought for a moment. Walked past him and left a sentence. Even if the whole auditor came, they wouldn't be able to do anything Yoma. Hearing her words, he pondered. He muttered the name Yoma to himself. I need to clarify one thing. The power bestowed upon me is not a blessing or grace, it's more like a curse. To avoid relying on the blessed sword, I need to find new equipment. But that power, despite all my efforts, clings to me, wanting to take over this body, yet I feel no pain. No, not only do I not feel pain, but I even take a strange pleasure in this continuous weakening. I'm like a puppet, bound and controlled by the curse, with sweet whispers in my ears. Cut deeper, destroy more. I have completely surrendered myself to it. Then, Chloe's desperate scream, that name, woke me up from Yoma's influence. In that cry, all the shattered fragments of my world were gathered back. So I threw away the sword, which felt like it was fused to my flesh. I felt like if I didn't throw it away immediately, I would lose myself forever. Until now, he's just a Yandere who wants to possess me, Chloe, the girl who brought me back to my senses, although he was the one who broke the sword and caused the problem, so despite my anger, I still feel grateful. Therefore, I decided to let it go. Even so, I still have to leave quickly to avoid another relapse, but can I really avoid this problem for the rest of my life? The blessed sword's power, a talent that's almost a curse. It's a talent paid for with a human lifespan. It's a talent I have to carry like an alien living in this world. I don't expect much here. I just want to live a normal life. I thought I could handle minor incidents if they happened. But now I realize there's something inside me. Something is devouring my reason. This is not a blessing, but a curse that wants to swallow me whole, forbidden magic. 3 days later, the classroom was still as noisy. There was something crazy yesterday, I'll show you later. She said that and then fell silent again. She looked at Yoma's empty seat. Now I realize I don't even have his contact information. Why didn't I ask before? I even went to his dorm, but the only response to my knocking was a pained cry. I was afraid that if I broke in, he would hate me, so I could only leave. I like watching him from afar when he's resting his chin and lost in thought. I'm afraid he'll think I'm a troublesome person, so I'm careful not to talk to him. At first I thought I was attracted to him because he risked his life to save me, but maybe that was just an excuse. I miss him. Thinking this, she muttered something to herself. The teacher's shout was so loud that the whole school could hear it. Everyone, be quiet. How long have we been studying and it's still like a market? Because it's raining today, we'll study in the classroom instead of training. It seems Kan Yoma isn't in school today either. There must be some reason, so I will wait patiently like a true teacher. Begin the lesson. The whole class shouted in unison, yes, sir. Just then, the door opened, causing Mr. Lee Wonbin to turn around, ready to scold. Who dares to? Suddenly, he froze, as if seeing something strange. The whole class silently followed Mr. Lee Wonbin's gaze. Yoma walked step by step to his seat, his eyes also looking different. I wonder what he went through. His hair now has streaks of white, and his eyes look much older overnight. As soon as she saw him, Chloe jumped up. His voice was neither cold nor warm, neither fast nor slow. I'm sorry for being late, sir. The teacher replied in a flustered tone, all right, sit down. Isn't he a special student? He always looks like that. You're right, I just noticed, he seems even more handsome. Then the whole class buzzed. Yoma silently sat down and continued the lesson. Soon it was time for lunch and the students flocked to the cafeteria. Chloe hesitantly came to talk to him. He lightly replied yes. Chloe. Did something happen? No, nothing. You haven't been to class for a while. so I thought something must have happened. Was it because of the match? At the mention of the match, he fell silent. Then he looked at her and smiled gently, replying that I was just a little sick, but thank you for worrying about me. Looking at Yoma, both familiar and strange, Chloe's heart fluttered uncontrollably. She nervously avoided his gaze. Is that so? Good. But Yoma's eyes told a different story. I thought he wouldn't believe me. For the past 3 days, I've endured excruciating symptoms until I was exhausted. I couldn't leave my room to eat anything. I just lay in bed praying for this nightmare to end. The pain I have to endure is much greater than in the past. That is the price I have to pay for using that broken sword. That's not the only thing that happens when I look in the mirror. My appearance is still the same, but my face is sunken and even my hair has turned white. This is a punishment from the gods. He seemed apologetic. That's right, he saw himself like that during training and had to change the subject. Hey, about dinner, what you mentioned earlier, is it okay today? I was so surprised to see you proactively mention Chloe, really. But this time, I want to eat what you cook. Chloe excitedly jumped up and down, replying immediately, of course, I'll do my best, I'm so happy. Seeing her like that, he smiled. She must really like it. Yoma, today I'll make anything you want to eat. What do you want? I haven't eaten fish in a long time. I threw up everything I ate at your place last time. No, it's because it was too expensive, so I didn't. As he was talking, he suddenly felt something coming to him and immediately turned around to look at the tree next to him, full of doubt. What the hell was going on? Then he looked towards the door. Seeing his alertness, Chloe unconsciously followed his gaze. They both saw him standing right outside the door. He scratched his chin and grinned sinisterly. As soon as Chloe saw something, she immediately knew something was wrong. She froze on the spot, looking at her brother. This expression caught Yoma's eyes. He looked at the man outside and asked Chloe, "Do you know him?" But she didn't answer. From the situation, he had a pretty good guess. Without hesitation, he stepped forward. He stood straight, facing no Siegfried. Their eyes met like sparks flying. If you want to say something, say it, don't just stare. Nox Aditor looked disgusted. His red eyes seemed to glow with murderous intent. What's wrong with his eyes? Chloe rushed forward, stopping Yoma. Don't mind him, Nox. Didn't you say you wouldn't come? Why? You're here again. Why are you like that? His voice was grumpy, but there was a bit of hesitation. Maybe he was shaking. Nox Aditor spat out each word. He's nothing. You actually broke auditor family law for him, Chloe Auditor. Whatever, it doesn't concern me anymore. You talk like that about family. Once you're born an auditor, you're always an auditor. Your sister's acting rebellious, and her brother's like he's in a historical drama. Can you lower your voice? Leave this and come home now, Chloe. She gritted her teeth, trembling. Don't talk to Yoma like that. Can't you speak calmly? Everyone's going to eat. If not, things will get chaotic. I'm used to this kind of thing. Wait, Auditor, I get it, I just remembered. Their specialty was infiltration and assassination. They're the shadowy figures that appear in the middle of the game. They're weaker than other hero families, but unmatched when it comes to assassination. All members of the Adit family are ridiculously strong because of their harsh, forced training. Turning them into the most brutal assassination tools, Chloe was born into the Adit family. Damn, if that's the case, then that expression isn't unusual, is it? His expressionless face as he slashed others showed no signs of getting used to it. I'm sure the Auditor is pursuing the enemy to strengthen his position. If it's urgent, I don't mind taking action. I think that's reasonable. If you think about this, you look at Chloe who is trembling standing next to you, looking at her bleeding lips, you guess Chloe probably wants to live a normal life. However, like the Sword God's blessing, Chloe has grown up in the Auditor's environment since childhood, so it's definitely not possible. She's destined to become a cold-blooded killer. Oh no. I'm not a hero. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't be one, although, it's true I can't save the whole world. He laughs at himself. What am I doing? I'll talk to him, but saving one person, or a girl, should be possible, right? I must accept this power. It's definitely a curse, but it won't let me taste defeat. No matter how hard I try to escape the sword god's blessing, it's impossible. In the animation, they'd say, you can't escape even if you run to the ends of the earth. That's true. If I can't run, I'll charge forward. I am Kong Yoma. My name, Yoma, means sword and demon in its etymology. And I'm a knife user. He glances at Nox, a slight smirk on his lips. Follow me, I'll cut you to pieces. On the other side, Mr. Lu Bian was deep in thought. Something must have happened to Yoma. His face has no expression at all. Senior, what's wrong? Your head's almost bald. Stop making fun of me. I'm sorry, I'm Li Wenbin, the instructor of the Tiger class. What's going on? So he's been making fun of it from the beginning. How cute. What, a subspace battle? Suddenly, which student requested it? Who's the opponent? Kong Yoma requested it, and the opponent is Nox Aditor. The subspace doors open. Control panel ready. 15 minutes until the subspace battle. I thought the procedure would be complicated, but it turned out to be simple. If you absolutely must do it, be careful. Anyway, this is outside the scope of reality's interference, so there shouldn't be any external injuries, but internal and mental injuries are unavoidable. Winning is all that matters. The noise reaches even the waiting room. Everyone knows fights are exciting, but I didn't expect the reaction to be this intense. It's strange. Not long ago, I was trying to avoid attention, but now it's meaningless. Chloe sat next to her and cried non-stop. She cried in his ear and smiled awkwardly, as if Chloe thought it was because of him. Chloe, it's not your fault, don't worry. Chloe even lent me her weapons, so it should be fine. She stops crying. The room is awkwardly silent. Chloe suddenly speaks, her voice strong. Chloe is strong too. My brother is a genius, with unparalleled talent in the Aditor family history. No one compares to him in using hidden weapons. At age 14, he was already called the Pinnacle of Shadow Techniques. The Pinnacle of Shadow Techniques, what's with these two? Who came up with that name, right? Thinking back, it's always been like this. No matter how hard I try to avoid it, I end up choosing this path. My destiny is a lifelong sword. I bet he never expected that in my second life, I'd be wielding a sashimi knife to play around. Now, we'll proceed with the subspace pairings. Relevant students, please go to the training grounds. Kong Yoma, 2 knives in hand, starts his journey. I'm off. Chloe hesitates, as if she wants to say something. Seeing her worry, he reassures her. She looks up at him. He pats her shoulder and says, there are many geniuses in this world, but in the end, the victor will be me. Saying that, he leaves with his knives. The doors get closer. He steps into the arena. The light blinds him. When he can see his surroundings, he's overwhelmed by the scene before him. The audience in the stands cheers excitedly. I have faith in you, special student. Do your best. Damn it, I've been looking forward to this battle for a long time. It's like the gladiators of old Rome. I didn't expect it to be this crowded. Far away where only people in cartoons and comics can see. He was surprised to realize that the whole Saint class was also present. The male lead and 3 beautiful and talented beauties were also there to watch the match. His expression seemed even more serious than Yoma, who was on the field. How relaxed he is, while I'm so tense. Nox, as soon as he stepped onto the field, snarled like a long-starved beast. You dare to toy with me, you lowly peasant, don't you know your place? Unable to distinguish between bravery and arrogance, you dare to fight me with such a cheap weapon. With that, he unleashed a dark, murderous technique. But he unconsciously used his murderous aura. This guy is crazy. True masters don't blame their equipment. Hearing that, Nox became even more enraged. First, I must cut out your insolent tongue. Then he drew his silver sword and attacked. Yoma smirked. Look, a feast for the eyes. Aren't those crimson blades? And there are 2 of them. They're also equipped with one of the most advanced aura-concealing protective layers from the Black Fruit's Grace artifact. I sense the killing intent from before has been suppressed. S-rank weapons, sounds ridiculous, but we're taking this seriously. Both sides ready, Fight, the referee shouted. Activating the spatial barrier. Hero's guardian grace. As soon as the words left his mouth, both of them charged into battle. Meanwhile, the blessing system has been activated. The sword god's blessing has been activated, divine guardian's grace. The audience suddenly broke out in cold sweat. What was that? No way, this is the tiger class, it's too fast, I can't see anything, isn't this a match between amateurs? I don't know how amateur they are, but those two amateurs are moving at a speed the naked eye can't follow. The only thing visible are streaks of purple and blue clashing continuously. Wow! They're fast, and it's pretty amazing. That seemingly weak guy can fight like that. Neither fighter has gained an advantage. Nox attacks, Yoma dodges. He shifts his grip on his sword. He slices a long line into the ground. He unleashes a series of long, sweeping attacks. Leaving huge marks on the ground, Yoma doesn't get a single hit. Nox grits his teeth, snarling, "You damn fool, see if you can dodge this." He transforms into a blur of darkness, rushing towards Yoma. Yoma is momentarily overwhelmed by his speed. Then, hundreds of dark blades seem to surround him. Nox is extremely smug, it's over. But as the attacks pass, he realizes they were only after images. He dodged that too. While Nox is stunned, Yoma, unnoticed by the audience, lands a single blow, finishing the opponent. He lazily looks at his opponent, his face expressionless. The audience buzzes again. I can see glimpses of it, but it seems the second-year student is taking the upper hand. The first year is just running away. A year's worth of experience makes all the difference. Anyone who doesn't see it won't understand. The second year is launching relentless attacks, but the other guy is dodging them all. It seems he doesn't even want to fight. Nox trembles, his veins bulging. Just as Chloe said, he's not in Siegfried's league. I used the Black Fruit's grace to ensure his defeat, and yet he dodged it so easily. I focused too much on speed and then seeing his strength. I need to be more cautious and aim for a powerful blow that can sweep a large area. The more I looked at it, the angrier I became that I dared to use that cheap kitchen knife. He throws his weapon away mid-battle. What trick is this guy planning? When he was wondering, Makong Yoma took out a better peony pattern knife. Pointed the knife at him. Nox cautiously observed Yoma's every move. His eyes sharp as he glared at his opponent. Nox was losing his composure, cursing both in his head and out loud. That damn bastard, using that posture to mock me, a lowborn, nobody, daring to play the fool. I'll rip you apart with one blow. The blood-stained crimson Will Dao leaves no room for luck. Before he could finish, Yoma's figure vanished. Only a flash of green light appeared. As for me, I just want to live peacefully, avoid attention, and follow the main storyline. This is the worst kind of curse. It constantly pursues and tries to control my body, but something inside me is trying to devour me. What should I do? If I can't escape, then I'll just cut down everything. When that thought flashed, it was time. Nox's neck snapped and he lost an arm. He looked at his severed arm, seeing nothing. Yoma stood behind Nox like a ghost, both hands gripping the knife tightly. The entire auditorium fell silent, everyone frozen by what they had just witnessed. Leon, supposedly the main character of this story, was also stunned. Whether it's a blessing or a curse, I accept it all. Farewell to my peaceful future. The sharp blade sliced smoothly through the air, gently taking away one of Nox's arms. It was so smooth that he only felt the sensation after his arm was severed. Then Yoma gently picked up his head. From then on, he didn't speak another word, while a thick fog still lingered, and a voice somewhere announced the collapse of the barrier. The stands were silent, no one able to speak after witnessing the scene. When the dust settled, Yoma was sheathing his knife, and Nox collapsed on the ground. The moment the knife went into its sheath, a cold sensation ran down my spine. The select class students silently watched Yoma's small figure. You, who I always thought was weak, are unexpectedly strong. The subspace battle is over. Was this reaction natural? It's too late to turn back now. This is a knife for gutting fish. cutting someone with it always gives me an indescribable discomfort. The only consolation now is that both Mao and Nox are still in the subspace feature. It was clear that Nox was trembling, the sensation from before deeply ingrained in every cell of his being. He's very strong, just as Chloe said, it feels like he has a lot of battle experience. However, if he shows off his strength like that, anyone would want to avoid him. I saw it all, but let's just consider it as good fortune. The victory goes to first-year Tiger class, Kanyoma. The referee just announced it, but the audience is only now recovering, shouting, a first-year special student defeating a second-year. Wow, with this kind of publicity, they're advertising him everywhere. Oh well, there's nothing I can do now. This is the path I chose, so I have to risk it all. After that battle, everywhere I go, I hear people talking, that guy is from a dyer, right? Are you talking about yesterday's match? No wonder he was so strong. That's what I said, but how could someone that strong lose their gun? His name is Kanyoma. Why do I hear his name everywhere now? It's unbelievable, but from that time on. After that, I couldn't see clearly anymore. His swordsmanship is incredibly unbelievable. And he fought with 2 kitchen knives. Because I'm the Emperor's niece, when it comes to swords, I'm extremely confident. It's true that I'm not wise, but how can a knife be that strong? Hey there. But I'm quite curious, who defeated me to become the top student. If I meet him again, I'll definitely defeat him. Thinking back to the memories from the first few episodes, connecting the information, Abel gradually found the answer. I still don't know who this year's top student is. Could it be him? I was definitely angry at the time, but he was much stronger than me, even more so. Yoma, what was he thinking, daring to look at me like that? What was he thinking? What was he really thinking? Thinking about this, she excitedly slammed the table. Rachel, who was sleeping soundly beside her, was startled by the sound. What's wrong? Is there some hot gossip? Oh, sorry, there's nothing big. Really? Rachel looked at Abel curiously. Abel, flustered, said, I haven't been exercising for the past few days, so my head's a little fuzzy. What is this? What is this? You're clearly hiding something. Tell me. Are you hungry, or did you forget something somewhere? Are you always so obsessed with hygiene? I told you it's not that. Oh, you're thinking about boys. Abel reacted immediately, having been hit on the head. Rachel understood and became interested, while Abel's face turned red as a tomato. Really, Miss Abel also has a girlish heart. Don't tell me you don't know what love is. Abel, like a fluffy Siegfried cat, protested, it's really not. Oh, is that so? Who is that handsome guy? If he could steal Abel's heart, he's definitely not a fool. Let's see. Oh, it's Leon, right, he really is handsome. But seeing her cold expression, as if saying it wasn't like that, made her think again. She doesn't seem to like Leon, huh, so. The special student from yesterday, that black-haired guy again, Abel reacted honestly. Seeing this, the smile on Rachel's face gradually disappeared. Interesting, my batting average is pretty good today. I've been hitting them all. She grabbed Abel's hand and ran. Miss Abel, let's go. Abel, dumbfounded, asked, what, where are we going? We're going to the Tiger class. Rachel led Abel to the Tiger class. She kicked the door open, rushed in, and shouted, hello everyone in the Tiger class, may I borrow your classroom for a bit? The appearance of the 2 stars caused the whole class to fall silent in astonishment for a long time. The students started chattering excitedly. Rachel quickly glanced around the classroom, then went to a seat, standing proudly on a desk, hands on her hips. She shouted, I'm looking for you, black-haired boy. Well, where are you, black-haired boy? A young man scratched his ear and said, hey, stepping on someone else's desk is pretty bad, no matter how you look at it. I don't care, it's because I'm pretty. With a wink, the boy blushed. You're right, she's really pretty. Abel sighed helplessly. If there were a hole nearby, I'd jump in right now without any regrets for my friend. After searching for a while, she finally found her target. But Chloe was chattering beside him. She secretly wondered if she was his girlfriend. What's so important? That's a great way to do it. Rachel pulled C, presumably a shortened name for someone, and strode towards Yoma. Chloe was still giggling foolishly. As soon as she saw Rachel's figure, she stopped. Rachel leaned closer. Blow into Yoma's ear a ghostly breath. Abel and Chloe were stunned. Sitting on the desk right in front of Yoma. He dazedly raised his head, his sleepy face full of question marks, not understanding what was happening. Rachel swayed on the desk, trying to show off her perfect curves. She pretended to be surprised and looked at him. "Oh my God, you're awake." Yoma looked silently at the girl sitting on his desk. The more she spoke, the less he understood. "Your name is Kong Yoma, right? I met you at the gym yesterday, but I didn't recognize you." "Oh, this is Rachel. Why is she here? You look so handsome up close," especially when Rachel said that. "She reached out to touch you. Looks like danger is coming. My intuition tells me this is very dangerous." But then a murderous voice rang out. "Who are you?" as possible, but the eyes glow with a red light, as if wanting to devour the other person alive. Rachel didn't know what the other person meant. Annoyed, she pulled her hand away. Only then did Yoma understand his own unease. "Chloe, is this the danger he sensed? Is that the mode?" Her personality changed again. "What's going on over there? If there's a stabbing in school, I don't think the game would trigger this event. What's happening?" Before things escalated further, Abel quickly stepped in to separate the two. "Rachel, what are you doing in someone else's class? What's going on?" "Miss Abel, I just came to say hello." Is saying hello not allowed? She then looked at Yoma for a moment, then hopped down from the desk and patted Chloe's head. "Kid, you shouldn't interrupt when adults are talking, understand? And kids shouldn't play with dangerous things, got it?" But Chloe was no longer very human. The paper cutter in her hand was extended to its fullest length. Without a word, she decisively slashed at Yoma. Abel and Yoma were taken by surprise and couldn't intervene in time. Rachel also sensed something. Suddenly, a red liquid spilled. The two students looked at the spilled juice box. "You did that. Be more careful next time. But if you hadn't done that, never mind, just shut up." There wasn't any blood. Rachel caught Chloe's hand, causing the knife to fall. "It's too slow. I thought you were just a normal kid, but you're a petty little thing, aren't you?" The more she spoke, the tighter Rachel squeezed Chloe's wrist. Abel intervened. "Stop it, Rachel." Helplessly, she obeyed. With a light flick of her wrist, Chloe flew several meters away. Chloe doesn't fit either. She spun in the air and landed perfectly. When the boys in the class saw that, they lined up and exclaimed, telling themselves that Mom was really crazy. The Marat family, the saint of commerce, are known for their supreme power and the motto of facing overwhelming strength without needing any skills. Rachel Z. Marat is the granddaughter of the saint of commerce. "Is that girl your girlfriend?" Faced with Rachel's sudden question, Yoma immediately replied, "No." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Chloe staring at him intently. He wondered why it felt so cold, but it was the truth, so he said, "Friend," his face slightly flustered as he looked at the scene before him. What the heck is going on? Looking closely, he realized Abel had been there the whole time. He hadn't noticed because he was preoccupied. "You two came looking for me. What's up?" "Miss Abel is interested in you, so I came to see what you're like." Abel retorted, "When was I ever like that? If not for that, why did you come here?" "Rachel, you forced me to come, and I thought Miss Abel wanted to come, so I obediently followed." Abel was speechless. The whole class watched with interest. "No, I think you misunderstood. I never said I wanted to come here," Yoma said, exasperated, "and yet you still followed." Yoma rubbed his temples. "If there's nothing else, you two should go home." The two top students of the class were unexpectedly sent home, much to their surprise. "You're interesting. I like funny men." "Oh, that's lucky. I'm not funny at all." Not paying attention to Yoma, who was sweating profusely, Rachel hugged his hand and said this mysteriously, "Don't say anything. Do you want to watch Netflix Siegfried with me after school?" This intimate act sent Chloe's anger over the edge. She yelled, "Stay away from my Yoma, immediately." Rachel tilted her head and muttered, "My Yoma," then she laughed triumphantly. "My Yoma, did you hear that? Miss Abel, my Yoma." Yoma sighed helplessly. "This is ridiculous." Meanwhile, Abel was furious. She called out Rachel's name in a harsh voice. Rachel quickly stood up and said, "It's a shame to meet you. I'm very happy to say hello to Yoma. I'll see you again soon. Don't come anymore, it's so insensitive." "We're leaving." She narrowed her eyes as she watched the two leave. "Get lost." Then he slumped onto his desk. "Oh God, I'm so sleepy." Not knowing that Abel then turned to look at him for a while. Those golden eyes were filled with light. Gazing at Yoma's figure for a while, although they didn't speak to each other, Abel felt something changing within her, but in the end, she turned and left. Their encounter ended like that. On the way back to class, we were both lost in thought. When I met Yoma, I didn't expect it to be that intense, even though his attitude was very cold. Deep within those dark eyes, I sensed something very vague. It felt like my throat was cut. It was truly terrifying. He was completely different from the silly classmates I met after entering school. I only intended to play around, but then I had this unexpected encounter. For generations, my saintly family has betrothed themselves to outstanding warriors. This means that he is the talent my family desires. Indeed, the inviolable queen is very interested in him. "Miss Abel, I apologize." Abel, muttering while holding her head, "You should apologize to your classmates for what you did earlier." Rachel suddenly interrupted, "No, not that." Abel looked a little surprised at his friend. Rachel stood in the hallway, excitedly declaring, "Yoma, I won't yield." While the enduring friendship of the two girls was uncertain, Knox, on the other hand, was receiving in four drip, furiously cursing in his head. A body that has lived a lifetime without ever tasting defeat, the body of the genius, editor. Is there any difference at night? Should I suddenly attack him at night? But remembering those cold eyes made Knox shiver involuntarily. Too frustrated, he vented his anger on other patients. "I have to mobilize the editor family's resources, only then can I behead that bastard. I must eliminate that bastard and bring Chloe back. Chloe's potential is even greater than mine. That's right, I must do it now. The power of my family and my top-notch nighttime skills will surely prevail." He was full of determination while thinking about it, but upon returning to his room, he was stunned to find Yoma calmly eating an apple. Sitting on a chair beside the hospital bed, he said, "Oh, it's you." Chloe held a paper cutter, her eyes sharp enough to kill. Chloe held a paper cutter, her eyes sharp enough to kill. Yoma could only look on helplessly. She looked so angry, he thought, but she's the one who put the knife away first. Chloe gnawed on her nails while staring at the knife in her hand, so satisfying, she thought, Yoma too. A voice pulled her out of her tangled thoughts. Looking up, she saw it was Yoma. She greeted him brightly. "Oh, Yoma, what's up?" Yoma looked hesitantly at the knife in her hand. Chloe put down the knife. "My mother opened her mouth to say how Knox is doing these days." At this point, she sighed. "My brother is in the academy hospital." "Why is he hospitalized?" "He wasn't injured during the battle in the subspace. Actually, I still don't know much about it. I only heard he was sent to the hospital, even though he didn't have any wounds, so everything will be all right." "Yoma, don't worry, even though I cut him in half, he's probably not so weak mentally. Could that bastard be planning something else?" Yoma smiled, stroking Chloe's head. "Can you tell me Knox's room number?" he asked, applying a newly learned method for dealing with Yandra's head patting. "And then we have Knox freezing in front of my room like this, sweat pouring down his face, his mouth stiff, stammering incomprehensible words." Yoma took another bite of his apple. "Can I eat this?" he asked. Knox, confused, "You already ate it." "Editor must be rich, huh? A private room for one person, no kidding. How did you even get here?" Seeing Yoma silently reaching for a fruit knife, Knox panicked. "Is he here to finish me off?" Oh, but it turned out Yoma simply wanted to peel an apple. Seeing the neatly peeled apple, Knox was curious. How did he peel it so perfectly? After peeling the apple, he politely placed it on a plate. "If you're bored with rice, eat some fruit." Watching him leave like that, Knox felt a burning anger. this damned guy, daring to pity this body, I'll eliminate you." At that moment, he stopped. "And if you're planning on revenge, then I'll destroy a dyer," he said that before leaving. Leaving Nox shocked and speechless. The apple he had just peeled on the plate now had cuts appearing. Revealing oddly symmetrical pieces, Nox collapsed to the floor in fear. Returning to his room. No matter what, the enemy's presence is like a match, his heart probably completely shattered, that's why my intimidation worked. Auditor is the world's only unparalleled assassin group, it's impossible to deal with all members in 30 seconds. If 10 people can resist in 30 seconds, anyway, that's the worst case scenario, so limit killing as much as possible. The night was peaceful. It felt like I was standing before a terrible storm. Have I mastered it yet? I wonder what will happen to my head. As for Nox, I can stop worrying about him, the problem is the person I least want to be involved with, even in the game. His character approached the male lead first, but attacked later than the female lead, Abel. Alright, let's leave that for later, now it's time to prepare for the midterm exam. The reward is quite big, so I need to seriously plan, Murasum, I need weapons to fight for more than 30 seconds. The exam content doesn't distinguish between classes. 5 people cooperate to subdue a monster. In team competitions, individual skills are important, but trust between teammates is even more crucial. Although the team members are quite unpleasant, if we cooperate well, then it's like us riding the same bus. And the monster we need to destroy in this test is the mermaid. I found it unpleasant in the game already, having to fight it in real life. I feel like I'm about to throw up. Even though I've been catching fish all my life, if it were a mermaid, how wonderful, a D-rank mermaid, I won't have a nosebleed, will I? Thinking about it, the mermaid is the main character. The key character of the demon race, compared to the powerful main character, Masu is just like a guard dog. Fortunately, my only goal is to conquer the merman monster. I don't need to deal with the main character. It's been more than a month since I came here and the night is truly peaceful. Peaceful. It's been 700 years since humans and demons signed a ceasefire treaty. Many large and small conflicts have occurred in this world, notably the Bassman incident. Half a century ago, they said they would revive the commander of the 1st Legion who was sealed. The commander of the 6th Legion crossed the boundary himself, shouting, "Stop, I'll bring him back." Humanity, who are known as the strongest of all heroes, belonging to the 7-Star Heroes organization, won after a week of bloody fighting. 3 people sacrificed their lives to save the others. Fortunately, no one wanted to cross that boundary again afterward. The strongest human being, yet this is just a commander of the 6th Army. How can that peace still continue until today? I wonder how long this peace will last. Come to think of it, Baller Joaquin, who sealed the commander of the 1st Legion, wasn't human. However, a war between demons and humans, including the Demon King, is coming. Only 3 years left. Worrying now is useless. I need to stay calm and focus on the midterm exam. It will be troublesome, but first, I need billions. I've lived too quietly, I don't have any friends. But when I think about it, I'm currently one of the most famous people in the academy. If I take advantage of this, will I make money? Anyway, I can't live in silence for the next 3 years. I have to join a good group and complete my midterm exams perfectly. Okay, I have to change my goal. It's been a week, really. No one invited me to join any group. This is serious. I'm the kind of person who lacks restraint. People are afraid of me. Why did you notice Chloe? She seems to be in a similar situation. Since that day, Chloe has also been ostracized quite a bit. Chloe, hey Yoma, no one invited you to a group yet. That's right, no one has. Are you okay? I didn't have any friends from the start anyway. I'm fine, if you don't mind. Then, you and I will be a group. We need to find 3 more people, Chloe replied brightly. Okay. Chloe is definitely the person I need. The goal is to capture as many mermen as possible within 1 hour. If I catch one in 30 seconds, I will get about 1,000. Chloe grinned and was so happy. Yoma suddenly laughed along in his heart and couldn't deny it, received so much happiness. But the peaceful moment didn't last long. From outside the door, someone shouted, "Yoma, I'm here to play with you." "Why are you here again?" "Oh, I'm just here to play." As soon as Rachel arrived, Chloe grabbed a paper cutter, muttering, "Here she comes, here she comes." To avoid trouble, Yoma quickly returned to his seat, trying to get rid of Rachel as quickly as possible. "Go, I don't have time today, you're so heartless, Yoma." "Hey, stop calling me Yoma," Rachel said, ignoring Yoma's disdain. I don't know, I didn't hear anything." "I didn't hear anything," she said, intentionally falling onto Yoma's desk. "Oh yeah, how's Yoma's test going? He didn't even listen to me." He simply replied no. Rachel looked delighted. "That's great, then, join my group." "Then join." As always, Rachel sprawled on the desk, seductively beckoning Yoma. "My group," she said, lifting his chin with her hand and adding a sweet gaze. Without hesitation, he brushed her hand away and asked indifferently, "Why me? You have plenty of people who want to be in your group." "They're boring," she replied casually. "I have a feeling something interesting will happen if you're in my group." Yoma had his own opinion. I promised Chloe I'd team up with her. The red-haired girl, who had been listening from afar, felt a pang of anxiety when her crush mentioned Chloe's name. Rachel confidently raised 2 fingers. "It's fine, there are still 2 spots left." Leaning back in his chair, the boy pondered, "At this rate, forget about the rewards and scores from hunting monsters with these people, I'll be exhausted." Meanwhile, she patiently watched Yoma, awaiting his answer. He glanced at Chloe, who was sitting behind him, and saw her nod in agreement. Yoma coolly replied, "Then, I'll rely on you." He took out his phone. Rachel was satisfied. "Okay, once you're in, don't go back on your word." The young man was a bit curious as to who was the group leader. "Leon," she casually replied while typing on her phone. The information surprised Yoma. He cursed inwardly, "Damn it." After Rachel left, he tremblingly placed his hands on the desk. "What terrible sins did I commit in my past life?" He gritted his teeth bitterly. For nearly 30 years, he only knew swords, the work. Let's say I'm prominent, so I'm unintentionally involved with these female leads. He thought about Abel and Rachel. He had gotten quite a view when he knew these people. But in the end, this happened. Leon, on the other hand, is the male protagonist of this game. The young man felt dazzled by the aura the main character radiated. In contrast to him, he himself is just a dark color, with a glimmer of light from his eyes and silver hair. I don't know what direction the story will take and, if anything, what responsibility it will take. Fall on me. I can't even change groups because of that witch, Rachel. Before she came to find me, she had already registered me for her group. He felt a little apprehensive thinking about the girl's manipulation. Angry, the boy gritted his teeth, trembling. "I'd never wanted to kill a girl so much. Should I withdraw?" From behind, the Yandere girl appeared, tilting her head with lustful eyes. "Yoma, what's wrong?" He froze and replied, "Ah." She feigned friendliness, with a smile on her lips. "You look sad since that blonde girl left." Not daring to look back, he just looked down at the table and replied, "It's just a little stressful being in a group with all the top students." Although she was a Yandere, she was naive and cheerfully encouraged him. "No one in the top class is stronger than Yoma, I guarantee it." He felt a little relieved and turned to say, "Thank you." Chloe is also participating, and leaving alone is irresponsible. Come to think of it, this lineup is full of great talent. Actually, this is a beneficial situation. Just think in a positive way, think optimistically. At this time, Yoma took the initiative to ask Chloe, "What time is the group meeting?" In the classroom, the girl replied, "That blonde girl said 6 o'clock at the cafe in the main building." The calm guy thought to himself, "From now on, I'll call Rachel Blonde, comma. It's almost time, let's go." Chloe, with happiness clearly visible on her face, replied, "Yes." The scene shifts to the entrance of a relatively luxurious cafe. Placing the drink on the table, the red-haired girl smiled refreshingly, so good, while Yoma sat beside her with a regular cup of coffee, observing his friend's expression. Lifting the coffee to his lips, he felt a little sorry for such a strange green drink costing 50,000 VND. Prices are really going up. After a sip, The young man's face turned pale, he spat out the liquid, exclaiming, bitter. But seeing Chloe looking back, he quickly changed the subject. Ah, this Starbucks, yours is good too, huh? Trying to maintain his composure, Yoma, although finding it bitter, forced himself to endure, determined to uphold his mature demeanor. Looking at the coffee on the table, he couldn't help but sigh. Drinks under 20,000 VND, only espresso, damn it, this is off campus, so I can't use my discount card, I probably won't come here often. Suddenly, his phone, with an anime girl as its wallpaper, vibrated, signaling a message. He held the iPhone 16 Pro Max in his hand and read Rachel's text messages to Yoma. He was nowhere to be seen. I wasn't planning on coming for 5 minutes. I'm sorry I was a little late to drink Starbucks in the conference room because I had to clean up after the kids. There, I saw it. The outside door opened. The girl, carrying a drink, entered with the handsome Leon and a younger person. Sorry, we're late. Seeing the two huddled together, she asked, did you two wait long? Meanwhile, the two opposing extremes in these two people are directly encountered, the brilliance of the main character's aura and the dimness of a character who has fallen in love. Suddenly Yoma noticed a strange presence. A guy with high-tied orange hair was gently stretching. Seeing his stylish appearance, he judged, a player, huh? Leon approached, extending his hand to greet him. Yoma didn't refuse, shaking his hand and introducing himself, I'm Kong Yoma. Your simulated space battle a few days ago was impressive. It's reassuring to have you in the team. The main character of the game began the conversation with a compliment, while the black-haired youth paid attention to every detail, his warm voice and composed demeanor, truly the main character he had once controlled. After the glasses of water were brought out, everyone sat down. Leon Van Reinhardt opened his mouth. First, let's introduce ourselves. The blonde girl raised her hand in agreement. I'll start. I'm Leon Van Reinhardt from the Stellar Mechanics class. I'll be the group leader. I still have many shortcomings, so I hope for everyone's help during this exam. Yoma, looking at Leon's splendor, felt a pang of envy. He's got the looks too. The main character is different. It's really unfair. Instead of continuing, Rachel gently nudged the orange-haired guy. Everyone knows me, so I'll skip. Next. The boy crossed his arms and calmly introduced the Sweet Weapon Dragon class, which he likes heroes. This is proven by the words hero tattooed on the left side of his neck. The Kong guy continued his assessment with his own eyes. Following the circle, it was the red-haired girl's turn. She introduced herself timidly. I'm Chloe Auditor, from the Dragon class. Before she finished, Rachel teased her by mentioning Yoma's name, causing the girl to momentarily glare with a rather unfriendly expression. Remembering she needed to hide her yander aside, she closed her eyes and continued, I'm happy to be in this group. I look forward to working with everyone. The three people across the table nodded. Finally, it was our supporting character's turn. He nonchalantly introduced himself, Kong Yoma, Dragon class, awkward. After the introductions, Leon searched his bag. Okay, then. Taking out a laptop, he started working on it. Let's begin the meeting. In the room, the device projected a fantasy model for everyone to observe. Only the black-haired youth felt surprised. Based on the map data, Leon spoke. At lunchtime today, the homeroom teacher gave the group leaders a document. This is a map of Scopuli Island, where we'll have our exam. First, on the exam day, we'll be transported to this island through a spatial portal. However, only the portal is in a different space. The island itself is in the real world, he explained in detail. So you could be injured by magical beasts. Everyone, remember this. I'll zoom in for everyone to see. Leon continued to work on the laptop. The map showed several areas marked red with warning. This is the northeast coastal area assigned to us. There will be 3 teams hunting merfolk in this area. The key to this exam is which team kills more merfolk within the limit. The others observed and listened attentively. Closing the laptop, Leon ended his presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Sweet Weapon was the first person he raised his hand to speak on Scopuli Island was also. Is there any danger in the place where the mermaid appears? The teachers have already surveyed it in advance, so everyone can rest assured. Leon replied that it's Chloe's turn to ask me if there will be conflicts or fights between assigned groups. Same area. No, the target is fish-like monsters, Leon replied. The purpose of this test is to eliminate magical beasts, so students fighting each other may lead to elimination. Are you satisfied with the answer? Yoma looked at her friend in admiration, truly worthy of being from an assassin's family. After a while of discussion, voices filled the room. That's all for today, everyone. Prepare for the midterm exam. See you at the location assignment meeting tomorrow. Okay, speed weapon, let's go eat that thing. Don't rip your clothes now. Only Leon is left alone to pack up the equipment. The black-haired boy looked at the main character and thought, he's sitting in a hidden corner inside, so it's just the two of us facing each other. I'm so embarrassed, I'm getting out of here. Acting on his thoughts, he silently left. A sudden call made him turn around. Leon remained seated at the meeting table, as if he had something to share. Yoma, where are you from? It seemed like a normal question, but for a reincarnated person like the black-haired boy, it was a little sensitive. Yoma, where are you from? Leon looked up frankly and waited, while the con youth thought for a moment. What's this? I seem to have been asked this question before, but this time it's different. Where are you from? He found Leon a little hard to read. The blonde boy revealed a deep, unpredictable look. This made Yoma a little flustered. I don't understand. Does he mean to ask about geography? No, if he were asking that, he would have asked during the introductions. He deliberately waited until everyone left to ask. There must be a reason, the boy recalled when everyone introduced themselves. After a moment of speculation, Yoma decided not to answer, avoiding that gaze that seemed to see right through his soul. Seeing this, Leon apologized. I'm sorry for asking something irrelevant. I thought you were like me, he said, his gaze still fixed on the man in front of him. Like me, what does that mean? A new question arose in Yoma's mind. Even though the common language of this game world is Korean, there's still national distinction. I'm clearly Korean. Just pretend you didn't hear anything. I'll go first. Leon stood up and left the room. Suddenly, a hand was placed on his shoulder. Preventing the boy from leaving, Yoma asked unexpectedly, Leon, where are you from? He himself didn't understand why he acted like that. Damn, I unconsciously held him back. If I let him go like that, I'll lose sleep because I'm upset, the black-haired boy thought while still holding him. Blonde boy. Turning around, Leon took Yoma's hand and slowly lowered it, replying with a gentle smile, I'm from Germany. After that, the main character truly left, leaving the room behind. Watching the figure disappear, Yoma couldn't help but be curious. What's with this guy? The spoon in his hand unconsciously fell to the table. Yoma still couldn't understand. Am I just overthinking things? At that moment, he couldn't help but think that the other person was also from another world, Yoma recalled, and it makes sense. There's no guarantee that only I'm transported into the game. Moreover, he's the main character, making the possibility higher than for a supporting character like me. Returning to his room, the black-haired boy, dressed simply, crossed his arms and pondered while having dinner. Looking at the blade on the table, he spoke aloud, under the influence of the sword god's grace, my senses have become extraordinarily sharp, but Leon is from this world. A terrifying feeling ran down his spine. It's happening again, like last time. When I activate and focus on the sword god's grace, I can hear vague voices. Yoma recalled the unpleasant experience of first holding a kitchen knife in the new world. He patted his head hard to wake himself up. His face became worse. The more he tried to think, the more his head hurt. Even infinite grace couldn't help it. In any case, the Leon I met today is the same Leon I controlled in the game. Even if they hired an actor, they couldn't act like that. Or maybe he really only asked about nationality. The main character's mind was now filled with the image of the blonde-haired youth. But saying, you're like me, means. Holding his phone, he tried searching for Leon von Reinhardt, but found no results. This isn't looking good, Yoma regretted. I wish I'd read the wiki. I didn't pay attention to the male characters. There's nothing about Leon in this world. Letting go, he stared blankly at the ceiling. Forget it. I'll probably only meet Leon this once. If anything else happens, I'll ask the media for help. He recalled the 70-year-old woman in the body of a beautiful woman acting coquettishly. You rarely visit me. When will we run away together? Can we do it now? Yoma dismissed that idea. Seriously, don't overthink it. It's strange, even though I'm in an unexpected situation, I'm still calm. It must be thanks to the grace. Mention the word grace and a notice board appears right next to it. After observing for a while, he concluded, it's developing favorably. Physical level, 57, sword range expanded, mental level, 3, increased authority in speech and action, weapon level, 1, unlocks not met, synchronization, 2, 56, 6, 8%. The main character seriously assessed each detail of each stat. Mental and weapon levels remained the same, but physical level increased slightly thanks to diligent training. I guess I need Muramasa for the weapon level to increase. He thought of the sword as a reward for the challenge. What is synchronization? Only this is increasing rapidly, almost meeting the unlock condition. Synchronization, 2, 5, 6, 8%, reached 7%. Synchronization to meet the unlock condition, a cloaking effect. I've only been playing with those two kids lately. Could there be a connection? Yoma thought about the Aditor brothers. Checking his status, he continued, he didn't understand himself anymore and didn't know who to ask. A notification suddenly appeared that the minimum number of activations had been reached, the validity period had been adjusted. Yoma opened his eyes wide and continued reading. Painless Grace, duration increased from 30 to 40 seconds, cooldown, 12 hours. 40 seconds, really? He scrolled back and forth through the notification in astonishment. His hand rested on the knife on the table. He recalled the battles since his reincarnation. His efforts had finally paid off. The knife in Kang's hand, his joy was evident. Just like that, he was truly happy. Time flew by. 5 days before the exam, he was still diligently practicing one-handed push-ups. On Wednesday, the group continued to meet to discuss strategy. On Tuesday, Yoma and the Yinder Chloe practiced swordplay. Day 2, another meeting, but not a pleasant one for the red-haired girl whose crush was stolen by the blonde. The final day, Yoma braced himself, sword in hand, sweat dripping down. Instantly, he burst into action, cutting water drops in half with his ability to fly and tear through the wind. Seeing the result after a long period of arduous training, he smiled a gentle, contented smile. Today was the day they began the challenge. Everyone stood before the large, open gate. Wearing their school uniforms, Yoma observed, this was a spatial gate. Its mere presence altered the atmosphere of the school. A call from behind caught his attention. Rachel, Leon, Chloe, and Weapon had gathered. The blonde spoke first, always punctual, and today you're late. Main damage dealer, Kim Rachel. Group leader Leon also contributed. Sweet Weapon, as always, was maximally taciturn. Chloe, sub-damage dealer, felt happy seeing the main character's deadpan expression. Good morning, Kang Yoma. Finally, rearguard member Kang Yoma apologized to me for being late. Despite having nothing himself, he was overwhelmed by everyone else's equipment. Rachel wielded an S-rank Fong Tianhua Ji. Looking at the man with the bun, a strange item around his neck made Yoma's eyes widen. A flute. The young man looked annoyed. What's the problem? Rachel came closer and whispered, but that's one of the few S-level healing weapons. Is that true? Even in the game, it's hard to get an S-rank healing weapon even if you spend tens of millions, but appearance is part of performance, right? Yoma didn't highly value speed weapons item. Ignoring him, he stared at the strange flute. The young man couldn't hide his displeasure and shooed him away. Get out of the way. A loud announcement boomed towards Leon's team. Attention, the midterm exam for the first semester of 2024 officially begins. You all seem ready, the teacher observed. The rules have been thoroughly explained, so I'll keep it brief. If it's dangerous, retreat immediately. Remember, you're still students, not heroes. Lee Won-bin's responsible reminder. Don't risk your lives for points, and if you're injured or want to quit, contact your instructor immediately. Leon boosted everyone's spirits. It seems like it's time. Let's get ready. Everyone, don't be nervous. Just do your best. Everyone seemed mentally prepared. Yoma was also resolute. Let's begin. Suddenly, the red-haired girl shyly approached Chloe. "What's wrong? It's a little late, but I just remembered, Scopuli Island is where mermaids appear." She looked worried. Seeing that, Min immediately reassured the teachers that they had checked and it was okay. "Don't worry about Chloe." "Yes." Standing before the large gate, teacher Lee Won-bin and his colleagues announced, "Now, let's enter the gate. The spatial gate is activated." Yoma gently patted the girl's head. "Let's go, Chloe." "Yes." She looked at the person in front of her, feeling reassured. "That's right, don't worry, I trust him." They all slowly entered the gate. In the dark night, a voice rang out, "Wake up, we are about to cross the boundary between life and death." "Flo, I yearn for freedom." Yoma's voice. "Okay, Chloe, who calls my name?" Chloe, a loud scream opened her eyes. The girl holding her katana tightly suddenly looked forward. The black-haired boy trying to stay awake. "Please help Chloe wake up." "I think I just fainted," the red-haired girl said, her eyes showing panic. In front of them, their teammates seemed to be facing something terrible. "We can't contact the teacher. The signal is weak in this cave. What's happening?" A deadly glare, a sinister smile on a beautiful yet repulsive face. Standing before Leon's group was a creature capable of manipulating water, its entire body emitting a dangerous purple glow, a mermaid. Before the mermaid appeared on Scopuli Island, a tropical scene unfolded: lush green forests, a silvery sea, and a vibrant sky shining down on the white sand. The sounds of retching echoed through the air. Yoma watched as Speed, Weapon, Rachel, and Leon tried to expel multicolored liquids from their mouths. With weary eyes, the team leader spoke. "Yoma, are you alright? I'm not seasick. I don't think this is seasickness." From the forest, a monster with the body of a fish but limbs like a human came out. Yoma was slightly surprised. "It's a merman." "Wow, that monster waddled by, smaller than I thought," he commented. "That initial nervousness was silly. After all, my position is the rear guard. Let the teammates handle it," the boy thought, remembering standing before the teleportation gate. Leon stood to the side and spoke up. "To the assigned position, there will be an adult mermaid. The mermaid who will be scored is not this type of juvenile fish. Let's go to Chloe's location for reconnaissance first. Everyone, let's plan our movement." After everyone finished vomiting, they passed through the forest. Leon didn't forget his duty as team leader. "Stay vigilant and cautious." Suddenly, a rustling sound. "It seems they're here." From the air, a shadow leaped from the top of a tree, landing with lightning speed. It was Chloe, with surprisingly agile movements. Yoma curiously asked, "You climbed up here? That way, it'll be harder to be detected." "How's it going, Chloe? How's the situation over there?" Leon asked, and she began to narrate what she observed. "About 500 meters ahead, there's a cave. Here, yes." Inside, countless eyes emitted a golden light. Looking closer, it was a group of merfolk gathered around a fire. Rachel estimated around 50 to 60 of them. Yoma analyzed the situation. "We really need to consider this carefully. If we eliminate all of them, we'll definitely top the midterm exam, but as the team leader, I have to consider everyone's safety. It's a cave. If someone gets injured, we can't contact the outside." Whether he should take the risk or find another safer route is up to Leon to decide. He looked at the captain, who was thinking. Recalling their earlier discussion about Chloe's position, "When we arrive at the island, you'll go for reconnaissance first. Weapon, you'll stay behind to support and heal." Yoma looked at the man with the bun hair with a sarcastic gaze. "I still find it strange that you're a healer." "What's that? A hero's motto is to help others, don't you know?" Weapon retorted. Leon continued his planning. Yoma would be in the rear guard, to guard against unforeseen circumstances. Too relaxed, holding the pure general's spear, Leon placed it on the game board. "I'll be in the middle, commanding everyone. Don't rush in recklessly. Of course, depending on the situation, I'll also join the attack." Rachel couldn't wait to ask, "And what about me?" Turning to her, the team leader thought of a suitable role. "You." Both of them looked towards the saint's granddaughter. "I've decided." Rachel, from behind, tensed, preparing to swing her spear. She channeled magical power into the Fong Tianhua Ji halberd, She hurled the spear forward, the halberd flew like lightning, passing Leon. It flew straight towards the monsters hiding in the ranks. The spear stabbed straight into the fire that the monsters were staring at. Losing the light, the fish became confused. Suddenly a sound made them turn their attention from the air. The girl waved her fist and rushed towards the group of monsters. A confident expression on her face, she gripped the Fang Tianhua Ji. With a graceful sweep, the fish monsters' heads were neatly severed. Their heads flew through the air, detached from their bodies. "Rachel, you'll destroy everything, can you do it?" That's what Leon told her during the meeting. Wielding the Fang Tianhua Ji, her stance was as valiant as Liu Biyu's before the corpses of his enemies. Rachel replied, naturally, in German. Standing in a safe position, the sound of weapons flute resounded the bamboo song to revive Rachel. The monsters shrieked in fear and scattered. 6, 7, 8, then 9, from behind, a whirlwind of destruction was taking place. She gradually caught up with the monsters. The number had risen to 20, 22. The great Saha wheel skill allowed Rachel to perform a combo attack. The number of decapitated monsters reached 24. Weapon, thanks, 25 down. The blonde girl seemed to enjoy farming the creeps. Yoma was slightly surprised by her friend's skill. Seeing her crush being drawn to another girl, Chloe couldn't hide her jealousy. Drawing her katana from its sheath, a gift from the Cat clan, she, too, wanted to prove herself. A swift, clean draw, in true samurai style. The fish monsters' heads were cleanly severed in a straight line. Chloe also began farming monsters, reaching 8. Striking a cool pose, 2 monsters interrupted. She swiftly dismembered them, adding 2 to her count, bringing the total to 10. From both sides, they had cleared 43 to 45 monsters, but showed no sign of stopping, continuing to charge towards each other. Yoma and Leon were slightly confused. Why didn't they stop? The black-haired boy realized their animosity stemmed from their college days. Could it be Leon? Chloe and Rachel gave each other colorful looks and approached. Suddenly, an unusually large fish monster leaped down. Taking advantage of the time when both of them were about to ask for some blood from each other, it opened its wide mouth to swallow the 2 fat preys on the other side. Ignoring the small fry, both maintained their offensive stances, preparing to strike. Each delivered a blow. The unfortunate monster was sliced into large chunks. Rachel praised, "Wow, you've gotten faster, kiddo. I killed that one," Chloe replied. So funny. The blonde both ignored each other and continued to hunt monsters. Yoma stood there, wiping sweat, relieved. Ahead, Leon finished off the remaining monsters with a single, powerful strike. "You're worried, huh?" the captain asked. "Not exactly," he replied. Before them lay a pool of monster corpses. Rachel announced loudly, 60 down. Leon continued, "We're teammates, we should trust each other." "All right, let's go." Yoma connected previous information about Leon and concluded that his decisiveness and leadership qualities, a strong support for the group, couldn't be faked. He seemed to be truly from this world. It was just a question about his hometown, yet the young man made a decisive decision. Finally, peace, just as he thought that, a beam of energy shot towards him. But no, it whizzed past Yoma's shoulder and struck the captain in the stomach, to everyone's shock. Everyone was stunned to see Leon attack from behind. From behind, a hazy figure slowly emerged. Yoma turned to see a woman. She appeared with an overwhelming aura. Perched on a rock overlooking the lake, someone anxiously called out Leon's name. The mermaid demon, one of the king's underlings. Everyone was shocked. A mermaid? Didn't we scout this area beforehand? Weapon couldn't hide his worry. Khan considered the situation. Damn it, we thought everything would go smoothly, but looking at this, fight or flight, if we drag the injured Leon away, we'll be wiped out. Rachel quickly told the boy with the bun to contact the teacher to report there is a mermaid. Can't get in touch. Weapon panicked. Yoma assessed the situation as not very positive and lost contact with the outside world. It was natural to panic. It seemed like he was the only one left awake. Approaching the blonde girl, he gave instructions. "Rachel, stop those fish at all costs." Yeah, Weapon replied, I'm giving Leon all my remaining blood, go, Chloe. The girl, slightly off guard, jumped and responded. Placing his hands on her shoulders with confidence, he entrusted her with a task: get out of here, find other students nearby, bring them to safety, then call the teacher. Yoma, take Leon and everyone else, it's too difficult, hurry before the merfolk attack. Slightly panicked, she still chose to obey. Yes. Unable to hesitate any longer, she immediately flew out of the cave. Yoma, what do we do now? Is there any way? Both looked at the boy, alone, advancing towards the mermaid monster's location. They were stunned. What are you doing? This guy's crazy. Where are you going? Yoma calmly replied, yeah, Weapon, leave the big fish to me. What are you going to do, you crazy kid? Ignoring the comments, he focused his energy. I haven't had enough of those little fish yet. With a cool flourish, he pulled out a kitchen knife and declared, this is my specialty.